Okay, welcome to the Gunter City Council meeting. It is 6 p.m. on Thursday, September 19th, 2024. We're in the Public Safety Building, 105 on 4th Street. All proper notices have been posted, and we do have a quorum. We have Wade will be absent tonight, but William is on the way, so we'll announce his time when he comes in. Okay, perfect. Good time. So William is here. We will get started with our invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Chief Jones, can you all lead us?
Yes, ma'am. Let us pray. Dear Lord in heaven, we come to you today to thank you for the many blessings you've bestowed upon us daily, Lord. Lord, we ask you to be with our members that are currently here with us tonight and across our city, Lord. Lord, we ask you to be with our leaders from the municipality level to the federal government, Lord. Lord, we ask you to be with our men and women serving this great nation, stateside and worldwide. Be with our police, firefighters, EMS, and first responders. Lord, we ask you to remind us, to help remind us, Lord, to abide by the two greatest commandments you gave us, and that was to love God and love one another. Lord, we ask you to watch over us, keep us safe, guys, protect us, forgive us when we fail you. These things we ask you in heaven's name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, so we are going to open with citizen comments. You are invited to speak up to 3 minutes. On items that are not on the agenda already, we will open those agenda items and the public hearings later. But if there's anybody that wants to speak, I don't have anybody signed up for citizen comment. So outside of the agenda items, the public hearing, is there anybody that needed to speak? Okay. So seeing none, then I'll close citizen comments at 6:03. We'll move on to the consent agenda, and this is just routine council business for approval. This is consider approval minutes from August 15th, 24th, workshop, September 5th, and September 9th. A lot of meetings. Consider the approval of the Gunter Police Department activity report and then Gunter financial report for August of 2024. Okay, that day with the first approved.
I'll second.
And Alan with the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. We're going to move on to our police chief report. Chief Jones has an introduction of a new officer, and then he's going to show us the strategic plan presentation. Come on up, I'm ready.
At this time, I'd like to call up Officer Quinones. Elder is his first name, Quinones is his last. Officer Quinones is our newest member to the Gunter Police Department. He comes to us with 6 years of service, and the last 3 being with Cook County, and we're tickled to death to have him. He's going to bring a wealth of knowledge to our department, along with the ability to help us out with the downtown. I'll try not to stab him.
Looks like he's pretty Yeah, pretty thick.
I don't think we,
I say stab it, that'd be pretty cool.
do my best
You're gonna
to.
stab yourself.
There we go. I know.
Here, Danny.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started with the 2025-2029 strategic plan. The commitment of the Gunter Police Department is to provide high-quality law enforcement service to the citizens of this community. In addition, the police department is committed to the philosophy of organizational strategy of community policing. Community policing promotes partnership between citizens and the police department and is based upon the premise that the police and community must work together to improve the quality of life. In the pursuit of these commitments, our mission statement, core values, and vision are adhered to in the fulfillment of all departmental activities. As your Chief of Police, I'm honored to introduce our department's 2025 to 2029 strategic plan. This plan will prioritize the future endeavors for the Gunter Police Department. The plan includes goals and objectives that will enhance the professionalism of our agency. It also includes our new vision, mission statement that demonstrates the commitment and dedication made to our community. Vision statement: to provide, maintain, and ensure the highest quality of life within the Gunter community. Goals. The goals of this plan serve as an 8-step outline for our success. Reduction of crime. The reduction of crime promotes community support and trust. The Gunter Police Department is committed to taking a proactive approach to detect and deter criminal behavior. Objective: deterring criminal behavior. How do we do this? By enhancing the visibility of law enforcement officers throughout the community. By continuing to promote the officer take-home vehicle policy. Utilize technology for crime prevention methods and assisting with suspect identification. Enhance crime analysis data to empower supervisors and officers the ability to conduct direct operations. The City Council's already helped us with the visibility. We'll be getting 2 more officers after the October 1st. It'll take a process, but we'll get there once we vet those folks. So that helps out with the visibility. Officers take home, vehicle take home policy. When you see the drivers coming to and from their homes back to work, you know, it's a deterrent. It increases the visibility and helps deter crime. Customer satisfaction. The Gunter Police Department is committed to providing the highest quality customer service to both external customers and our internal customers. We realize that without community support and trust, we are unable to maintain a successful partnership. The Gunter Police Department is committed to a transparent philosophy, enabling the vision, values, and mission of this agency. Objective: customer service initiatives. How do we do this? We enhance communication within the community, create friendships, relationships, and partnerships with the citizens and businesses within the Gunter community. Develop partnerships with local media organizations. When we speak about partnering, I've already begun talks with members of our community that are on the HOAs. I think one of the presidents here from the Woods community, Mr. Carl Linderman. We've been in, Sergeant Wilbanks and I have been speaking with other members in our community about programs such as Flock that'll help keep our communities safe. The use of data to concentrate on hotspots within the community. It's a lot of the things that we do is data driven. So once we start to see that data come in, we can put more officers in those higher crime related communities or parts of the community. Career expectation. The Gunter Police Department is committed to providing employees with the clear and detailed expectations of their role within the law enforcement agency. We will strive to maintain an acceptable workload for each employee, enabling the vision, values, and mission of the agency. Objective: employee success. How do we do this? We evaluate job descriptions to ensure expectations are clearly defined. Explore employee workloads to determine and maximize effectiveness. Engage in technology that will serve as a platform for future employee success. Develop and implement a mentoring program for career path development in leadership positions. Sergeant Wilbanks and I, we make a habit of getting our officers the highest quality of training that we can. And it was always taught to me that you want to train the next guy behind you and have that next man up, that approach to our department. So if one of us goes down, the next man can fill those shoes. The same thing in the military. Employee retention. The Government Police Department is committed to creating a positive workforce environment and culture designed to treat all employees with respect and dignity. We will operate from a faith-based platform by taking a family-first approach, one that places extreme value on the employees and their families. Excuse me. The Gunter Police Department will provide professional supervisory staff and offer a career path development structure to assist employees with advancement. Employee retention. Objective. And how do we do this? And implement employee buy-in programs, allowing employees to offer suggestions, new ideas. Roundtable discussions, staff meetings that ensure every officer has an equal opportunity. Coordinate events with officers to include their families to promote positive morale and work-life balance. We currently take a Knights of the Round Table approach to our staff meetings. We just had one last night. And it gives the officers an equal opportunity to voice their opinions. And if they have new ideas, from the chief to the last man that we've hired, everybody's equal when we're in that staff meeting. Because if there's an idea, if any one of them come up with a better idea or a way of doing business, I'm all ears. Initiative and progressive equipment. Innovative and progressive equipment. The Gunter Police Department will strive to maintain the most efficient and resourceful equipment to assist the needs of the community and maintain the professionalism of the law enforcement agency. Objective, researching the future. How do we do this? By explore future equipment needs and replacement schedule. Create and implement a vehicle replacement procedure structured to new functional equipment. Be proactive in researching the market for the best deals and services to maximize our budget. Sergeant Wilbanks and I have been very proactive in researching the market to determine which companies or vendors that'll offer us the best bang for our buck. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to strive to do that. Advanced training. We will train our law enforcement personnel to the highest standards and commitment to help meet the needs of the community. Objective. Enhance employee knowledge. How do we do this? By identifying specific training needs based upon the needs of the department, cultural awareness, and specialized training. Implement mandatory training standards based upon best practices. Create partnerships with other agencies, training facilities to minimize the cost, which maximizes the training. We are currently working with Grayson County Community College Law Enforcement Academy to assist them with structures. We've got a few instructors on our team, including myself, that we will trade our services. In return, they'll give us free training for our officers. And that's going to help save the city money in the long run. Alternative funding. Implementing and promoting a funding source that would serve in addition to keeping the fiscal year budget balanced and promote teamwork amongst other departments. This will serve as a platform for resources to improve employee efficiency and progressive workflow. Objective, increased capabilities, explore opportunities for alternative funding methods, develop partnerships with other departments within the city to adhere to a balanced budget, utilize increased funding to provide additional services to the community. Probably 45 minutes before this meeting, I had to do a death notification with one of the members in our city. And Brother Roy Lehman, who is also our police chaplain, assisted me out there, and he doesn't get paid for it, and I really appreciate it. 22 years, going on 22 years, that's one of the parts of the job that doesn't get any easier. And I hope I don't have to I pray that I don't have to call my officers' families one day. Professional and standards. The Gunter Police Department is built upon a foundation of ethical and professional conduct. We're committed to the highest level of moral principles and ethics. Maintain moral and ethical obligations. How do we do this? By continuing to implement standards that are in compliance with Texas best practices. All members of the department would adhere to the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics. Ladies and gentlemen, we are raising the bar. This in turn raises expectations and then ultimately the quality of service that we can provide. Our mission statement: the Gunter Police Department and its members are dedicated and committed to providing excellent public service and law enforcement through a trusted partnership with the community, with a proactive approach and goal of keeping the city of Gunter and its citizens safe. Core values. This is the last slide. In 2016, when I went to work for the Gunter Police Department, we didn't have any core values, or any values from what I could see. In 2017, I attended the FBI Lead a Trilogy Leadership course. I wrote down 3 things that spoke loud to me that day in class, the first day of class: protect the community, serve the community, and be professional. I later came back to Gunter with those 3 lines that are still written on a whiteboard in my office to this day. And from those 3 lines, we developed our core values: protection, service, and professionalism. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Chief Jones. I just want to say to you, we appreciate your leadership, your commitment. A lot has changed since you've become chief, and it's not going unnoticed. We really, really appreciate that. Okay, so for mayor's report, these are items that are going to be on our agenda. Moving forward, just to remind me to update you guys whether I have an update or not, because I get a lot of texts, a lot of calls, a lot of questions. The RFP for Texas Community Development Block Grant Fund Program, Adam, do you want to speak to that real quick and just
Sure.
mention that we put that out there, seeing that 2 notices have gone out. It's a very lengthy document, a lot to this program, a lot to writing these grants and taking care of this, so.
Yeah, so it's, it mirrors, I know recently it was passed at EDC, they passed the, some funding for the drainage study, and this goes hand in hand with that in some respects. This is for infrastructure improvement. It's the Texas Department of Agriculture. They do a block grant for semi-rural communities who qualify for it. I believe it's up to $1 million. It doesn't have those matching components the same way, so in some ways it's a better grant for the city of Gunter. And like I said, it'd be for streets and drainage would be the primary reasons for it. It's a lengthy process. I don't claim to, although I've got the ball rolling, and it will require a lot of information from us. But the RFQ we put out for is basically for an administrator for the grant, and that person comes in and does quite a bit of that work because the money is contained within the grant itself as well. So it's a good thing for Gunter, and we look forward to it. Award is usually, I believe, around the beginning of the year, next year.
And thank you for putting all that together.
No problem.
The TCEQ set program update, I really don't have an update. They are still working on approving something for us, so the ideas that we gave on were leading toward air quality monitors. So as soon as I know something, I'll let you know. Fiscal year 2023-2024 audit update. So a lot of people are asking about the audit, because normally audits are completed like February, March, April of each year. That's when you can close the year and then get the information to the auditors. So our last audit was the year ending in 2022. The one they're working on right now is the year ending in 2023, so last September 30th. And then we are going to get ahead of this ball game on, in October, November. We'll start gathering everything that we need for our fiscal year that ends this month. So just want to update you because a lot of people are asking about audits. That's where we are on that. So we're going to move into our tax presentation before I open up public hearing. I know there will be questions. I'm hoping to answer some of those before we open up for our public hearing comments. I'll skip that. So 1145 Stonebridge, the burn house, that's the most exciting one. So there's a process, a lot of people have been asking about it. We do have a failed inspection, a condemnation report from our inspectors. That was step 1. We got that. Now Courtney is working on our letter to send to the owners to give them their 30-day notice to get that on the, get it cleaned up. Come in, demo, get all that removed so that we can take down that fence and get all that burn material out of our city. If they do not respond within 30 days, then we can either, we have a couple of options, and we'll do it right away. And that's to bring it back to the Board of Adjustments, which is us, the council, and we can either decide to, condemn it and then remove it on our own, place a lien on the property so that when they sell it, we get paid back, or we can take that to a district court. So that'd be something when we get to that point, if it's necessary, then I'll bring that back to you guys. So that's where we are with our house. Thank you for catching that, because I was just moving on. Okay, so let's open up our, I'm gonna need that.
It's next to you, Mayor.
Oh, thank you. Presentation. All right, last time, Adam, I think it changed it, it wouldn't do it, would it? I'm just remembering, that's why we had to do Bluetooth. It hasn't come up yet. It's looking like it's connected.
You live?
It's, like,
Good.
well, it's connected. I mean, I'm looking at it, but it's not pulling it up here. It just came up on this, but you. Oh. No, I sent it. You have it in email. Yeah.
There's an AV person, that's yours budget.
Well, this is, yeah, I think that go away. I can't get that to go away though,
Oh.
because that's not on mine, this notification.
It's here.
Oh, thought it was on hers.
That's the temp.
Yeah, that's on,
That's on the TV.
it's on the TV, but it's not on my screen, so.
Flip one side of the slide, you see what goes away with a bunch of.
Looks like it just needs an acknowledgement. Got it.
Cities on the computer.
That's what it was. Nothing I can.
That's frustrating. Okay. It is, but it's locked up. It's not allowing me to control it here, so hold on just a minute. I'm gonna do Bluetooth. Nope. It worked fine the other day, but this didn't come up either, so. The other connection's still back there, right?
The other cast, yeah, it's back here.
Let's see what happens.
Well, I did.
It's saying it's not there. Let me see, it worked fine over there.
There'll be two sections, which looks like.
Okay, so, this is our tax rate hearing and adoption on the 19th. We're going to select two. Okay, so this is the presentation agenda. We're going to look at how the property tax is used. That's to cover debt maintenance and operations. We've talked about that before in our budget workshops. We'll go through these pretty quickly. How the property tax is calculated, we've also discussed that. We'll go through it pretty quickly. How the property tax affects you is what everybody wants to know. I'll follow that with my recommendation. We'll recap the challenges and the benefits of the budget that this tax rate is gonna cover. We'll open it for public hearing, and then we'll come back and open it up for council discussion once we close the hearing, and we will adopt our tax rate. So, how it's used, two parts of our tax calculations are the debt tax and then the maintenance and operations. So the debt tax is determined by the calculations that we've given all the information to the county. They've calculated all that based on last year's taxes, this year's debt that we know that we're gonna pay in principal, interest, and fees. And then they give us that rate. We have to choose the other half of that, and that's the maintenance and operations. We'll either go no new revenue rate, or we will go voter approval rate, or somewhere in between. So how it's calculated, basically it's based on your appraised values. Some of that is frozen, and we'll talk about the districts and zones. We only have one right now, more are coming, and then what our options are. So you can see here with the Grayson County certified totals that we adopted, gosh, I think on the 5th, the freeze adjusted taxable value is $406,375,000. So if you look at the bottom, the $183,985,000 is the TERS. We only have one right now that is active. So when you're calculating tax, you take that part out, calculate the tax rate on the $406 million. Without that, we showed all of those graphs during our budget workshop. Some of that is on here as well. And then you have to go back and uniquely do the TIF, which is the TERS. And we only get half of that, and it needs to go towards services and the bridge as well. The fact that the bridges is most of the town, is over half of the population. Pretty much all of that goes to everything in general because it covers services that we would use. Okay, so the two rates that we're talking about tonight, the no new revenue rate. The no new revenue rate is a rate that would provide the city with about the same amount of tax revenue as the year before. There's a lot of calculations that go into this. You can't just look at what the market value was last year, look at it this year, average that out, and have no new revenue rate. Some of these properties aren't even included. For example, my neighbors have not been taxed 2 years in a row. So in order to get a no new revenue rate, they only calculate that on the properties that have been taxed last year and this year. So when we say no new revenue, you're gonna see in a chart here in a minute that doesn't necessarily mean we're not increasing revenue on your home. But overall, it is the closest rate you can get to not generating more revenue for the city. And so, yeah, at the bottom it says does not include the impact of additional tax revenue from new construction. So again, back to my neighbor's house. They weren't taxed last year. They're not included in the calculations of the no new rate this year. The voter approval rate. So this is the tax rate that allows the city of Gunter to collect more taxes, but it's at the limit that the state allows, is what the VAR maximum is. So that's the maximum tax that we can increase without having to have an election where the voters can then go back in and roll it back. It actually used to be called the rollback tax. Okay, so when the Grayson County Appraisal District, sets our values, they go in and they do work on appraisals all year. Once they set that and they certify those totals, they come to us end of July. I've highlighted there from those certified totals, the current year no new revenue tax rate is the 0.493101. We talked about during the budget workshop that if the no new revenue produces a levy that covers our budget, then we can set, the debt rate according to what they told us, and whatever left over is actually maintenance and operations. If the no new rate does not cover our budget, we have two options. We take some out of our budget, or we have to increase the tax rate. the limit of that VAR, voter approval rate, is 0.564373. Now, when we posted notice, the law requires you to do that before we even knew what our budget would be. So when we posted the notice, that's why it was really important that it says not to exceed. So obviously, we were not going to even consider going anything over voter approval. So we set that proposed tax rate, not knowing our budget yet, as a not to exceed rate of the VAR. Okay, that's the highest that we were willing to even discuss. So when we looked at the overall calculations, if you look at 2023, the last year's raise at the top, that shows you what we had for maintenance and operations, what we had for debt. At 0.474252, that was the voter approval rate last year. So I know a lot of people, are upset that we might be raising taxes this year, but we have done it since Gunter has been a city. As far back as I could go, we have chosen the voter approval rate, which is the maximum the law allows in Texas. The NNR for 2024, our tax rate that we're setting right now, you can look across there, you can see that 222 million. That is that 406 million with the TERS taken out, because we don't calculate that in the beginning, we calculate that later and add it to the total. So that 222 million, if you look at the no new tax revenue rate in green, the value, the generation, the levy that's going to generate is the 1.3 million, and right next to it, when we add the TERS back in, it generates 1.8 million. Now, if you go down to the blue, you're going to see the voter approval rate. If we choose that rate, it'll generate 1.44 million without the TERS and 2,025,000 with the TERS. Okay, so you guys are all with me on that one, because we've gone over this chart 2 or 3 times, 3 or 4 times actually. Now, with the TERS, how that is calculated is you have to take. It's a little bit confusing, but I'm showing you year ending in 23, 24, and the next one will be ending in 25. So if you look at the tax rate, the total for fiscal year 22, 23 was 0.483214. The 23, 24 year, last year, we set it at 474,252. This year, our options are, again, in the blue is the voter approval rate, and in the green is the no new revenue rate. The way that the TERS is calculated is that 222 million was on the other page, but when we added the TERS back in, that base tax was 15 million at the top. So you see every single year, we get that 87,342 is what the levy is this year. Every single year we get that base, but then everything above that is split 50-50 now. Half goes to the developer and half goes to us after the administrative cost, which is about $5,000. So I've taken that out. If you're looking at no new rate where the green is, that means that the value of the levy is 830,000. You minus 5,000 off the top for administrative costs, and then you cut that in half, and it's the 412 is the levy it produces. So that is ours to keep. But then you have to go back in and add the base levy, which is the 87. So with a no new tax revenue rate in the green, we generate 500,000 from the bridges, that is TERS 1. If we choose a voter approval rate, that will generate 560,000 as the levy from the bridges to add to everything else. So the difference between the no new revenue rate and the voter approval rate is $218,550. Overall, not just the TERS, it's everything. So we're looking at a difference of $218,000. Remember, we talked about that. So that is that's the decision that we have to make when we go to, thinking about the tax rate. Okay, so both of the no new revenue rate and the voter approval rate tax rates cover our working budget now. We worked very hard to clean that up. Every single department started from scratch. And I'm so proud of them because they did a great job. Both cover operating reserves. If we choose the no new revenue rate, we will still have 4 months of operating reserves in our budget. That is a good thing. If we choose the voter approval rate, that $218,000 that it generates for us brings us to about 5.5 months of operating reserves. So that's the question. Do we no new revenue versus voter approval for that little bit of difference in operating buffer? Okay, so now we're going to talk about how it affects you. It's public college, you can go to the CAD, you can look at anybody's home value, so I just went ahead and just used my own. So the tax rate from 2023 to the options of 2024, and how will this affect me personally? So first of all, again, your property tax is calculated based on the following: your property's appraised value minus any exemptions, and then whether they're state or local, and then multiplied by the adopted tax rate in every $100. So the tax rate is for every $100 of your value. You have multiple taxing jurisdictions: school district, county, some have, college. Houston had 10 taxing jurisdictions. It was not nice, it was not fun. Most of us had 3 or 4, so we're only talking about the city of Gunter rate tonight. That is it. It's just a portion of your total tax. But the good news is, in 2019, the 86th Texas legislature allows you, the taxpayer, to come to an open meeting and speak at a public hearing, so you do have a voice. You absolutely have a voice. And once we're finished here, we will open that up for you to ask questions, or not necessarily ask questions of us, but things that we want us to consider when we discuss and deliberate before we adopt the tax rate. Okay. So, as an example, the current tax rate at 0.474252%, my personal value on my home was $728,950. That was 2023. And if you look at the annual city tax that cost me, was $3,400.57. Okay? So if we go to 2024, my appraisals went up to $792,666. That means that if we do a no new revenue rate, sounds like my taxes should not go up, but they will. They will still go up to, if we use the rate of the 0.9493,101, I will personally pay $451 more than I did last year. If we choose a voter approval rate, I will pay $1,000.16 more than we did last year. Okay, so that's how it affects you, and everybody can go to the CAD. You can look at the differences. You can plug in these numbers and see what that means for you. It's going to be different for everybody. It depends on your property, your value, how many years, how many exemptions, if you're frozen or not. There's a lot of factors in there, but that's what it'll mean for me. So my recommendation, we're going to go over that. We're going to talk about the no new revenue rate versus the voter approval rate. We're going to talk about the challenges and the benefits of our budget, what this is covering, and then I'll give you my recommendation. So obviously we have the challenges through the loss of the sales tax that we're paying back to the state. So we're losing, sales tax that we would have had throughout the year, and we will do that for 8 years. Hopefully our businesses grow. We'll be supporting sales tax here in our city, and that'll outweigh the need for more property tax. The more we get from sales tax, the less we have to get from us as taxpayers. So losing the sales tax, a little bit of a hiccup, we've overcome it. The loss of the street bonds. We found out late in the game that the street bonds were on before Adam was even hired, so his entire budget fell apart. But we had a water fund that we hadn't used, and we're going to pay that back, so we overcame that. Loss of future water sewer revenue. This was kind of a big deal. It was a bigger deal than I thought when I started going down the rabbit hole of looking on our server and last year's, the previous year's audits and how much revenue we received. That's going to hurt a little bit, because it does 2 things. It allows us to, we're not getting the revenue from water sales and taking care of those things, but we also can't really control our development like we could have if we had some leverage being able to control our water sewer. Okay, so the benefits of what we've done with all this hard work with our budget and, just reorganizing and cleaning things up is that we're able to give the citizens 2 new police officers. And, Chief Jones talked about that a little bit too. We're very excited about that. We've got a great department, and it'll only get better. Incentives for on-call fire, 2 of those. So that was important because we do have a plan for sitting down with Captain Kramer and going through the next, what does this look like over the next few years with getting a fire department on board when we're ready to transition from a volunteer to a paid, and we are working on that with Captain Logan and Chief Logan and then Captain Kramer. So that is in the works. We are also bringing in a assistant city secretary, so that's going to help Deidre quite a bit. It's going to help everybody actually in the office, because we all are overlapping, roles anyway. But predominantly, Deidre's gonna be able to read, which is nice. Code enforcement, that is on the way. There is so much that needs to be done. We're solving that problem. And then animal control. You guys live in the downtown, man, I get emails all the time, and we hear you. We're doing the best we can with all these stray dogs, predominantly. So we're working on that. It is coming. So I want to go through the historical tax rate real quick so that you really truly understand where we came from, where we've been, where we're going. This is huge. When I went back and put the numbers on this spreadsheet, a few things just popped out at me right away. I got these rates from the controller's office. You can go to this link, look up the controller's office, taxes, property taxes and rates. It explains, a lot about how the known revenue rate's calculated, the voter approval rate's calculated, but you can also get all of these numbers from historical tax through the state. The county also offers this through the Truth in Taxation website. So we can get that information for you, but a Google search will find it as well. You can go verify every one of these numbers are absolutely correct. So I went back just 5 years, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. We are in tax year 24 right now. And if you look across the top, you're gonna see the taxable value. That's not the market value of all of our appraisals, but these are certified totals, taxable value after the frozen properties. Okay, this is actually what the tax is calculated on. And if you look next to that, the column is the known revenue rate for that year, and then the voter approval rate for that year. Then it breaks it down into maintenance and operations, your debt service tax, and then the total that was adopted. The reason those are in gray is because the total, you'll see that those last 5 years, we have always adopted the voter approval rate. And even going back further than that, we have always. I couldn't find 1 year we didn't. So we have always raised taxes in Gunter. Now, the highlighted areas is year 2020. I thought that was interesting, and at first I thought maybe the state's numbers were wrong until I looked at all of the calculations. How is it that the known new revenue rate could actually be higher than the voter approval rate? That is true. This is accurate. This does happen. It's an anomaly, but it does happen. So that year was the only year that we chose a 0.625894 tax rate. But here's 2 things that happened that year. The known new revenue rate, right, is calculated on all properties that were taxed the previous year and the current year. So it leaves out a lot of new construction. There's a lot of calculations, that's one of them. The other reason that this could produce a result like this is that when your debt goes down a pretty good chunk. So if you look over here, in 2019, it was 0.204439. Our debt tax dropped 0.153342. That's because apparently, maybe we paid off a lot of debt, or for whatever reason, we didn't report the debt we had. Maybe it wasn't accurate, I don't know. But I do know that when the debt tax drops like that, oftentimes it'll make the known revenue rate be higher than the voter approval rate. So you can read all about that on the controller side as well. There's lots of explanations, but I want you to look over at the levy that it was produced every single year. In 2019, the levy that the tax revenue produced was 1.1 million. The following year is 1.2 million. The difference is that $148,000. So the tax rate increase, actually, the levy it produced was an increase of 13.09%. Does that make sense for you guys? Okay. So the following year, the levy was 1.472. That was a difference of 185,000. That was an increase of 14.41%. Now the reason that's in pink is because it matches the comments down here in the pink. Goes back to audits. You guys have been asking about audits. The whole city's asking me about audits for some reason. Whatever, I'm not sure why. But the last audit we did was ending in 2022. Audit ending in 2023, like I said earlier, is in progress, and then as soon as this fiscal year ends in September, we'll start gathering everything and have it ready for auditors that we get it back in February, March. So that year, then you go to 2022, it was still an increase, but the levy it produced was only 126,000 more than the year prior. So 8.61 today is the lowest I could find in Gunter's history, at least back to 2007. That year was the lowest increase. So if you look at 2023, this past year, we brought you, I was here, this was, Lori and Jeff did the budget. Remember, we were the city manager form of government, so I was not part of the budget, I was not the budget officer last year, and all of this was pretty much kept up, kept from me. I mean, Deidre was here, she knows I asked, and they wouldn't let me into the records. But anyways, I did not realize that I knew we had chosen a voter approval rate that produced a levy of 1.9 million. That was an increase of $314,000. That, you guys, is the largest tax increase the history of Gunter has on record, okay, of 19.66%. So that's what was done last year. I don't like it. I've said it many times, I'm not a fan of property taxes. I said it earlier today, probably 10 times. Personally, think it's unconstitutional, but it is the arena in which we live and the arena we have to play in. So, if you look at this year, our options are taxable value total is at $462,641,000. Our no new revenue rate is that top line, and that is 0.493101. The next one is the voter approval rate. That's the bottom, is the 0.564373. There's a breakdown of our maintenance and operation. Of course, the debt tax is the same no matter what. But if we go no new revenue rate, this is what I need you guys to really pay attention to, because this is your decision tonight. If we go no new revenue rate, that'll produce a levy of 1.8 million, so it's $1,807,000. The difference in that would actually be a decrease of 106,000 or 5.58% from last year. You see the difference, that 1.9 to 1.8. That's what no new revenue will do. Even though I'm going to pay a little bit more, the overall reduction is 5.58%. Now, if we go with the voter approval rate at the bottom there, that'll produce a levy of $2,025,000. That will be an increase from last year of $111,000 and an increase of 5.83%. So, regardless of what you do, if you do increase it, you're still going to be Gunter's historical lowest tax rate ever increased by the smallest margin. If you choose the no new revenue rate, you will actually be reducing taxes 5.58%. You will be the only ones to do it as far back as I can go on the record. So anyways, win-win for you. My recommendation, because our budget is covered, we have sensible conservative reserves, we've overcome all of our challenges, I am going to recommend that we go with a no revenue rate. Okay? So, we're going to open this up for public hearing, and anyone who wants to speak to that before we deliberate and set our tax rate, we will hopefully can answer all the questions. I may be able to generate some more right now. So I'm going to open a public hearing for comments at 6:50 p.m. If there is anyone who'd like to speak. Okay, I don't see any hands, so. Okay, last call. I'm going to close the public hearing at 6:50. All right, and now I'm going to open it up for council to deliberate, ask questions, whatever you guys, hopefully that makes sense.
What would the rate be if we went to zero? Like
What do you mean?
add 5.58%? Like what would the tax rate be if we just, instead of going 5%, I'm just hypothetically, instead of going 5%.
Instead of dropping it 5+%,
Yeah.
to just keeping that as a zero.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of calculations that I'd have to sit here and do. Well,
It's pretty close.
let me say this, that is the no new revenue rate. I wouldn't be on board with going any lower than that. I think that would be.
No, not going lower.
Slightly risky.
No, raising it so that it covers the 5%. That, it's
Oh,
just,
yeah,
this
we
is all
can-
hypothetical.
Yeah, no.
Why
You
would
can do that.
I don't,
If we got budget covered, we can do it with no new
Right.
revenue, and let's just stick with that.
that's what I think.
I mean, the town's been beat up enough over the years.
Absolutely.
This will be the first time everybody gets a tax break.
Give them a little bit of a break.
It's still a tax increase, but it's a tax break. I mean,
Right, in
That's-
comparison.
that's the crazy world of taxes and the way this state legislature has mangled our tax system, but at least it's some kind of relief.
Right.
So it's an increase because of values that have decrease.
Yeah, so I mean, I hope that makes sense, that this is why people can't get hung up on the rate itself, because it matters what the values are, it matters how much growth you had, it matters how much construction you had, it matters, there's just so much, how many loans went from non-frozen to frozen, just meaning that their appraisal goes up, but they don't pay any more additional tax. And that's a good thing, because that's for 65 and older, you want that freeze, it's not fair to them to have to continue to pay more and more and more, once they're retired. So I think that's a good thing, because if you look at the tax rate, if you look at year ending 21-22, look where it is, okay, 0.616. That next year it dropped to 0.483. Everybody's probably like, wait, yay, that's great. Well, not really, because that drop is still, yes, it was the lowest increase to date at 8.61, but it's still an increase of 8.61. So, you know, it's not so much the rate, you really have to look at the effects of
Right. Talking about the rate by itself
it.
is
It doesn't mean anything.
You have to match it with whatever the county has set the property value at, and how many houses
Right.
now are exempt, because everybody that's not exempt pays the difference.
That's
That's why even though we're gonna get no new revenue, Karen's taxes are gonna go up, so is mine.
It will.
So we're still, some people are still gonna see higher taxes, but overall, the city's gonna get free.
Right.
And we'll still meet our budget.
Right.
So I would go with Karen's recommendation, is that we go with the no new revenue rate.
Same.
Yeah, we've covered our budget and we've talked about it, kind of had a top-heavy budget last year. City manager and you had a finance person and you had all this headcount hanging out here that got
Right.
paid really well.
Well, we had 200,000 in reserves, employee reserve, salary reserve for another position that
Right.
obviously we didn't fill, but it was held.
If we're gonna have headcount, I want it to be with Danny, I want it to be with the fire department, I want it to be with Dietrich, with Eric, and make sure that they're supported. And I think what we've seen with staff, you get the right people,
Yes,
you don't need a whole lot of headspace.
that's right.
You just sit up here and look pretty.
No, they've done a fantastic job. All of our staff has done so much more with fewer people, because they do their job.
Yeah.
They're professionals, they do their job. So, any
So,
other questions?
Any other questions? So I move that we adopt the no new revenue rate.
Okay. Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we're gonna do a roll call vote. So, Cindy Davis, place 1,
Yes.
Alan Richards, place 2,
Yes.
Dave Sells, place 3.
Yes.
Okay, Wade is not here, but Wade Stevens, place 5.
Yes.
All right, that is unanimous. Congratulations, you have a no new revenue rate. Very excited about that. Okay, let's move on then to discuss and act upon the ordinance for the adoption. I think that the ordinance within the packet, no, we didn't fill anything out. So we just have to fill out all those numbers based on these numbers. So now we need to, adopt the ordinance. And, well, that's actually what we did. We did it real quick. Yes, I don't have my glasses. I see you guys really well, that up close, my readers. Okay, so we are going to, we don't even, number 7 doesn't apply anymore, because we're not raising to the vote approval rate, correct?
That's what I thought. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so that is
But we
no
are
longer
raising.
necessary.
But you're not,
we're not raising
The voter approval, so
Okay.
ratification is not required.
Yeah. So that's only if we are actually increasing above the no new revenue rate. Okay, so we don't need to do that one. Then, number 8 will be, discussion on a resolution ratifying the agreement with the controller's office. So I'm actually gonna exit out of this real quick. And I'm going to just kind of go over, can you see it? No, it's not in there yet. There we go. No? I even closed it out. Oh, because I had it open twice. Okay. So we gotta have a faster way to do this. Even if it's a long cord, I just can't. Well, and our, one more reason to have better Wi-Fi down here, we need fiber real bad, because things just don't connect. Okay, so we are gonna go over and just remind everybody of, what this resolution is actually doing. I know it's oh, there, maybe it was connected. Okay, well, if it pops up, it pops up.
It's got the hard line, if you don't look at your computer where.
Put that in the back. One wire.
No longer hard line.
Just need to get longer, just be
I
like-
know. Yeah, because this is frustrating. Very. And part of it's, oh, Wi-Fi.
I don't think everybody is, it's not that interesting to see, just describe it.
Okay, so our,
Anybody really wants to see it, they have like, it's pretty boring.
oh, that's the ordinance, or resolution. Okay, so just as a reminder, the sales tax that we're returning is the, oh, that's not fun. But, you know, 35 months, toward the end of, the 2019-2020 year, we began collecting sales tax. And, for 35 months, we collect sales tax that we shouldn't have. Companies were paying it in, they didn't know they weren't in the city. We did, but we collected it anyway. There was an audit, the state said, hey, you gotta pay it back, so that's where we are now. The Controller's Office noticed that June 12th of 2023, so last June, a year ago, and the original amount was 1.691 million. So there was we brought that to the meeting, June 15th of 2023, and if you look at the meeting minutes back from that one, we did go to executive session. We were told of what had happened, and we came out of that executive session with no action. So in between that timing and then July 25th, we had an offer from the state to pay this back in 8 years. This was never brought back to council. It was never authorized, but Jeff Gibson signed this agreement. So that is why we're here today, is we are authorizing this. I did talk to our representative with the Controller's Office. The 8-year payback is the best that we can do. So that is the plan that we are on. I believe that is the only thing that the resolution actually covers. We will have to do another one because after that agreement was done, then September of 2023, we annexed those properties in so that would solve the problem moving forward. That took effect in January of 2024. So in the meantime, though, after January, and that became a non-issue, now we're on a payback plan. We received another hit for $259,000 in March of 2024. That was part of those properties, we knew it, we had already annexed it in. But this one, we don't have 8 years payback, we get 18 months. So that's why in the budget, it shows that the $30,000 every single month went from 17 to 30. It's because that other 250,000, now we're at 2 million that we're paying back, is part of an 18-month, not 8 years, okay? So this is not in the resolution because when I talked to the controller's office, we were still waiting to see if they would reduce it from, or make it, instead of 18 months payback, just tack it on to the end of the other for the 8 years, but they won't do that. So this is the best deal we're gonna get. We'll have to bring this back again in the resolution with an additional 259,000. The pay schedule for paying it back, I'm not sure if I don't think I sent that to you guys yet, whether I can. So it's just showing a schedule that our, the first 1.6 million will be paid off in September of 2031, and that one is $17,614 every month that they take from us before they give us our sales tax every single month. Then the second one for the 259,000 we'll have to bring back and have another resolution for is July 2024 through December of 2025 for 14,400 month. Okay, so there's not a whole lot to discuss. This is the deal they gave us. We just had to come in and ratify it because it has to come before council in an open meeting. You can't just, authorize this now. Because it is such a large amount and it deals with money, we're gonna have to do a roll call ratification. So, we'll start. Do you have any questions before we do that though? I know we've talked about it a couple times.
Just authorizing what we've been doing.
Right, that's all we're doing. We don't really have a choice, so.
We're authorizing what Jeff did without authorization.
Yeah.
After the fact.
We're authorizing.
Accepting the state.
Correct.
But it is the best deal we're gonna get.
It is the best deal
They
we're
laid
gonna
out in
get.
their letter here that that's all they can offer is 96 months.
Right. It just should have been brought to an open meeting so that the taxpayer knows what we're doing with that money and why we're not getting it. You can't make deals like this without bringing it to an open meeting. It's not authorized, so now we're not authorized. So I need to start with Cindy. Yes, please come on. And Alan Richards, place 2.
Yes.
David Seller, place 3.
Yes.
Willie Stevens, place 5.
Yes.
Okay, so that has been ratified. All right, we are gonna move on to agenda item number 9. So is this yours, Eric, for discussion? Okay, do you need this back?
Yeah.
You need to do something.
Yeah, Mayor, you didn't get a motion and a
A motion
second
and a second?
before the vote.
Okay.
Cindy's not here.
I motion we ratify the actions of Mr. Stevens. Approve this resolution and continue paying back the taxes that we've been paying.
Okay, so have William go first. Alan with the second, all in favor? Okay, and we'll do this one more time, so I have to read it. We'll do roll call, even though Cindy's not here, I have to read it. She's on the record anyway. So Alan Richards, place 2. Dave Seller, place 3.
Yes.
And then Willie Stevens, place 5. Okay, now we're official. Okay, so, item number 9, this is to discuss, consider and act upon amending a plat to create lots 2A and 2B, East College. Abstract number 606, generally known as 297 to 299 East College Street.
With that, Mayor, I didn't have any trouble with technology either. I just switched over for us.
It's probably mine.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, this is a amended plat for a piece of property that's already been platted. It's located right there on East College Street. This is a map of the Grayson County pad records. You can see part of it is in the city and part of it is in our ETJ. The one to the south or to the bottom of the screen is located in the ETJ. Perhaps once we get through this, clean up this plat and stuff, we can talk to the owner into doing an annexation. but right now they're kind of wanting to focus on trying to get these lot lines cleaned up. And there are two owners on this property. There's an owner on the front lot and the back lot, and as you can see those red lines on there, shows up a little bit better, I guess, on the map there. That's what the existing plat looks like. So you kind of have this, this lot behind a lot, and kind of like a mess going on. And so we tried to find the best way to try to figure out to resolve that, and they work between the owners to get a decent amount of land swap, so they still have the equal amount of land on the proposed amended plat, which is indicated here, which is basically 2 square lots. However, it does create a flag lot. Our ordinance isn't real stringent on that, but it does kind of allude to the fact that flag lots are prohibited in one sentence. But mainly, I think, is meant for newer subdivisions that are coming in, like a residential subdivision, to not create lots or double frontages. We have a lot of circumstances around Gunter where these lots have been sold by meets and bounds, and the tracks end up being behind another one, both commercial and residential. So they came in clean up. They're gonna make, I'll zoom in on it a little bit. You'll see it kind of creates a flag lot on lot 2A on the south one, so they can come up to on the left or the west side to get access to College Street. And then it pulls back what was kind of a flag lot going, but it kind of stopped before it actually got to College. So I'm not really sure why they ever kind of did. There was a driveway there, but the lot just kind of stopped. It never really connected to the street right away. So in planning terms, we call that kind of a wonky plat. And so the amended plat takes care of it and cleans it up for both of them, and then they can move on. It also relieves a little bit of some issues that were found for setbacks for the existing structure that's out there right now, the existing home. So the applicant is here tonight, if in fact you want to ask me any questions on anything.
Eric, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is this the final proposed plat?
What?
This is the final?
This is the plat that they're wanting to amend, and so you'll have 2 lots.
What's it gonna look like if it's amended?
That is what it looks like. This is the amended one.
So there is access to the street?
There is access to the street, complete access, 25 feet wide now, which is fire lane width, but it'll be a driveway, but its functions as well.
And it does go to the street.
It does, absolutely.
And it
Now,
solves-
they're,
It solves both owners' problems?
it does, yeah, some of the problems now, just to be, procedurally formal, they did request a hardship variance to the definition of a flag lot, and then also not having the maximum or the minimum 70-foot frontage on a residential lot width. But as I mentioned, the lot that's actually not meeting the lot width is actually still in the ETJ, which doesn't matter. Our subdivision ordinance still rules in ETJ, but
So part of their land now with that flag or with the pole will be in the city.
it is, yep, that is correct. So if we go back to that, you can see, you basically just take that one red line on the left and extend it on down. So they originally it kind of looked like you tried to cheat it where you made it wider on the front there. Well, okay, but you narrowed the actual lot that has more of the street frontage on College, and there's nothing can be built up there in that upper left-hand rectangle because it wouldn't meet the setbacks and stuff.
So this is 2 owners?
It is. And they both will be signing the plat. They've both been majority participating in it. One owner's been more active in getting it through the process.
Which one's Is that, are you the front or the back?
He's the back front. Oh, front, yes.
Front, okay.
It's already kind of a flag lot anyway, it's just.
I totally agree. Yeah, I don't, we could spend a lot of time digging back into why things kind of happen and what they are and whatever, but we just, focus on trying to resolve it now as opposed to why the lot was done. But they had mentioned that they had been working on this for, I don't know, I was gonna say a year, but at least 2 years. So it's kind of like some of the other ones we brought forward a couple months ago that just kind of, for some reason, they just keep having issues, but hopefully this will clear it up.
So when did they start? Get the start building on it? There's already.
Yeah, we already have houses and
It's
everything
already
on there.
there.
Yeah, we're just trying to clean up the lines, because if you can see on the left-hand side, their property is about a foot off our driveway portions.
Yeah.
And on the right-hand side, there's maybe less of a foot from the wall of the house to their property.
Oh, wow.
And then the driveway that's on the right side, the first 30 feet of that is our property. Then it turns into their property.
Mm.
It's a mess.
So this fixes it. Well, there's no good fix, but this fixes it?
Yeah.
So, I'll make a motion that we approve this.
Okay, got David first, William with a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. All right, that is approved. So we'll move on to agenda item number 10, and I think that we have I'll let you introduce this, we have a presentation.
I'll introduce it, then the applicant, Fraser Capital, I don't know if it's gonna be Jeff, are you gonna be doing it? So they have a brief presentation that kind of shows some illustrative examples of what we're talking about that's included in the developer agreement. But I'll go over the key points, so that citizens and public understand kind of what we're doing here. This property currently is located in the city of Gunter ETJ. Just along 121, just west of Preston, near 9th Street. That goes through for a little bit, but not all the way to the north. It's indicated on the exhibit up there in the line drawing, and then also in the aerial outline in yellow. A portion of the property along Main is within the city right now, and it's zoned C1 neighborhood commercial with the Thor overlay district. Because in Gunter, we have a little bit of what's called strip zoning along some of the thoroughfares, mainly the textile thoroughfares. But the applicant did come in, they're working on this development. Part of the developer agreement helps them to get a comfort level that they can do the development that they need to. So when they come forward with the petition for annexation, as other developers have, we know what the zoning, what the land use is gonna be, and what that is they're requesting to do basically a single family residential development of approximately 100 and, I can't believe I'm forgetting how many lots it is. 200. Mainly single family, but there is in the small hatched area on Main to the left, there is going to be maintained as C1 neighborhood commercial for neighborhood services. The other area in the white between the two pods basically is floodplain that they're having to deal with and do a flood study on. There's also a little bit of a square there you can see they're working with Mustang Sud. They've been requested to do a significant amount of off-site sewer and water line extensions. So part of the developer agreement is going to include a petition for a PID to help offset those costs. But the development is 60 and 70-foot wide single-family residential lots based on the SF2 in our zoning ordinance, which currently that meets that. The minimum lot width for single-family 2 is 60 feet. So they're meeting the minimum, but they do, with the builders that they're working with, they wanted to reduce down the side yard setbacks from 8 feet to 5 feet. The front and rear setbacks are the same as what our base zoning ordinance requires, but because the setback on the sides are a little bit reduced, that obviously increases the maximum lot coverage by just a little bit. I don't think it's a problem, I mean, it's pretty typical, but the fact that we're maintaining 70 and 60-foot wide lots, I think is a win. And you'll also see in the floodplain in the presentation, I don't think I really have a true exhibit on show it, but he'll show you some illustrative examples that are included in the developer agreement of what the intent to create some recreational opportunity in that little finger part to the left where the triangle happens, and then along the floodplain. Can't get real detail on floodplain right now as to whether there could be a water feature there or not, because they have to go through all the FEMA stuff to see what kind of drainage and what they can actually do in there, but we do foresee it having a linear trail of some sort in there with natural surfaces or hard surfaces. We can do that because it does show that on our previous comprehensive land use plan. It does indicate trail systems a little bit, even though we don't have a trail park system master plan. So they've been working with us on that. But there it is. Of course, the thing that comes up many times in the discussion that came up at P&Z is, well, it looks like it's going to increase traffic. Well, yeah, so did the bridges and so does everything else that comes in. They've done a TIA. We'll look at it even closer and in more detail during the plating process. The levels of service without this development right now from the TIA that was done is like close to D or E, and in some instances an F, as it is right now. So what that tells me is when this development comes in, there are some recommendations on the drive coming out, the street coming out, and then what happens going across and tying into Oak to help relieve some of that, but some of the other stuff is at Preston and 121. And what I'm showing here on is the master plan, and shows the proposed 121 outer loop, which will eventually relieve all the traffic that we're having on Main right now as a 2-lane county road. My suspicion is what happens typically is once that outer loop goes in, and I don't have a schedule for text on when that would happen, is they'll probably want to take the existing 121 off their system and turn it over to the county and the city. But that doesn't alleviate the issues that were identified in the TIA as more signalization, some of the things that happen at intersections away from the property when traffic starts coming out. And unlike commercial properties, the traffic counts and the volumes happen at different times, and they've identified that, kind of evaluated it in the TIA, and we'll look at it more during the plating stage, but they might have to do a left turn decel lane. It didn't recommend any right turn decel lanes to get into the development, as I recall.
Is that Oak Street, the red line?
Yes,
Top of it, on top.
yeah, so that's a future minor arterial.
Oh, okay.
So, and then of course Preston and 121 will be major arterials as shown, but it does tie into an existing street. You can see on the left side of the exhibit, there are two streets right there that tie in. 9th Street kind of goes, but just stops at Oak. It doesn't go clear north there, and unlike many other places in this area, Gunter, the right-of-way wasn't even dedicated. We have lots of areas where the right-of-way is there, but there's no street pavement. This one doesn't have either. But, so it's hard to say, hey, you need to split it and keep it, take 30 feet off your side and 30 feet on this side, when I don't even know if the street's gonna go through based on the way the other land development patterns have happened coming in from Preston. It is shown as, I don't think I didn't show the comprehensive or the future land use plan shows this as being single family, as well as some of it to the east behind the existing commercial and the vacant land that's there now. But if someone came in, we are having connectivity to where if a subdivision did come into the north, they could still tie into that northern one north of Oak and tie in and have access there too. Because of course, subdivisions like this you can't have a single point access to subdivisions. Unfortunately, Oak is paved and is dedicated right away. The TIA didn't show a whole lot of people going out that way, but you never know. I mean, we do have issues sometimes with connecting to existing neighborhoods, but that's why the streets stubbed out. I mean, you have to have connectivity with the neighborhoods.
So where is Oak on that map?
South and to the left, the lower left, there's like 5 lots along the
Goes all the way through?
Yeah, it does connect all the way through to the other main north-south road of the new proposed development.
Got it, okay.
But they have a quick presentation that they can show you some of the elements that we're gonna try to do in the development and the housing product type. They're working with, I believe, 2 builders at this point in time. And so let me pull theirs up and I'll let them come up and.
Eric, I only see one entrance to this subdivision.
There's one to Main and then there's one,
One at the bottom and over there to the left.
they're pretty close together. So there's one right here. Oh jeez, I lost it.
You lost your.
That's a beautiful picture nonetheless.
I thought somebody threw up on the screen.
You eat too much candy, your eyes are getting dizzy. Yes, there's 2 right there going to the east. There's no pavement there right now, because like I said, 9th Street doesn't extend up yet. So the only one that's gonna be paved right now is South Oak, and then coming out on the main. They originally proposed coming out where that cul-de-sac is, having 2 entrance points on the main. But we worked with them to get rid of one, even though the TIA was kind of a little bit vague as to whether that was a problem or not. And also, I remember we were talking originally about the developer agreement, the site visibility along in there. And the TIA looked at that and said that there's no relative concern or any mitigating measures that need to be taken to address anything like that.
And there's no way to get access from the north side?
No, not unless they spent who knows how much to try to get access from a different property owner. Because this right here is all property owner, and they also own that little triangle that juts in. It's the same property owner as that, but they're not selling that 10 acres right now. It's a older gentleman and his 2 sisters own this property that they're working with. But as I mentioned, developer agreement, working with Mustang, they have a significant amount of water line extension and sewer to do off-site. Some of it actually, I believe, is actually up.
We talked a little bit
Yeah.
about that. I'll just remind you, this is the one that we went over finances in executive session.
And they can, if you have any questions about the PID, I think they have their representative here to talk about that as well. But there is no TERS on this one at this point in time. The developer agreement, if you probably read it, does have it leave a little bit open ended to come back and visit that sometime, but at this point in time, it's just a bid.
I don't, this isn't the agreement, the latest version.
No, it is not. That's, I was telling you in our pre-conference that there's some things we need to
That's right.
make sure I point out.
Okay. So it's all what I'm looking at.
Yeah, so I have a few things that if you decide to make a motion on that, I need you to point out, because the one that got put in is not the most recent one. If you have one that says water view, that's not right. It's actually Gunter 66. It's gonna stay that way. The lot counts and the, by and large, the material part of the developer agreement is the same. Exhibit B, which has the developer, or the development standards, has a couple of things I need to make sure that you all are, that it wasn't shown on there, it needs to be, so the motion just needs to say to include the new exhibit in the developer agreement.
And then the bid petition that's noted in here will come back on the 3rd of October.
That's
next
correct.
meeting,
Is it the
because
3rd of
then
Yes,
the
So then we also-
creation would have to be after that.
right. So we're also gonna have to do the PID, and then we'll have to do annexation and zoning. And the zoning will basically follow what the development centers are. It's gonna end up being a PD based off of SF2 and C1 for the portions that are not in the city. So it's kind of complicated, a lot of different moving pieces, but
So, but it all will be annexed in.
it will. All that isn't already in the city, which is just like about approximately 400 strip in front, but the rest of it, yes, will be annexed in.
Okay.
Which is great, because, we always talk about how we don't have, people who don't have the water and sewer to really encourage them, but as a good developer wants to be in the city, it is surrounded on all sides by the city already.
Yeah.
So with that, let me see if I can get theirs.
You didn't use this pretty picture here.
It's that's. I think they have some prettier pictures of that same illustration.
What is that thing?
What is that thing? If you have to ask, they're not worth talking
It's a
to
knitting
anymore.
line.
Would you get mad at it? Would you get mad if I go rock chalk Jayhawk?
Well, I wouldn't do anything to you here, but I can't say you get home safe. Probably get you hooked up with a psychiatrist soon. Okay, Fraser, Capital. Just hit the buttons here. I'm not the IT guy. Oh, man.
Well, it's fine, there's nobody here, and we just hook it up and
Wanna
run
do
through
it?
it as a test, and then
I'd love to make it a PowerPoint.
get an audience and say,
No, Ken is that Google. It's not a PDF of it. Google Solo like it just screens, gotcha. I didn't know how to do that either. So it's just all guys are awesome. Well, now we gotta figure out how to, I don't know if I can get it to switch slides. So okay, just scroll down like that. Okay. Name and address, all that stuff. We'll go.
All right. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Hey, I'm Stephen Smith with Fraser. Address is 3505 Woodhaven, Farmers Branch, Texas. Not super close, but great to be here. Really appreciate you all taking the time. We've met most of you, almost all of you, right? We've been in the town of Gunter for a long time. Really have just want to express our gratitude to you all. You've been just pleasant and awesome to work with. Mayor, thank you so much, and Eric's been really great, and just really appreciate everything y'all done. So we're excited about this, excited about presenting it to you. I will make this quick. We won't run through too much. This is a long deck, but we'll probably try to get through quickly, because Eric did a really good job of covering what we're trying to accomplish. What we thought we'd do first, real quickly, is tell you just quickly who we are. We're established in 2005, but we're actually a 5th generation in development and construction. We really do love what we do. We enjoy it, we have a good time. I'll tell you more about the company here in a second with who all's involved. We've got a lot of experience, about 150 years of combined experience between all of us. My dad is a big part of this company too. He sends his hellos and howdies. He is bummed he couldn't be here tonight, but you'll all be hearing from him very soon. Just real quickly on recent projects that you guys might be familiar with. We were the developers on the Meadows, which is in town, 1 acre lots. Was in the ETJ. We also annexed that into the city as well. I think that was completed in what, 2023? 23? great subdivision we're proud of, great builders there. Developed a deal in Prosper called Saddle Creek, Wellspring in Salina, Twin Creeks Ranch is a 1 acre community in Prosper, and then also North Creek, which is in McKinney. We're currently building Wandering Creek in Prosper. It's right next to the new school there. And then also we're about to start construction, I believe, hopefully in December, Jeff, on these 5 homes right behind you in Gunter, Texas. So we're very excited about that. We do have a home building division of our company as well. Those are the communities we're involved in. Just real quickly on the team, Lordy mercy, those pictures. Me, my dad, Cleveland Smith, my brother Trey is here, Jeff is here as well. Bill and Vincent, y'all have not met. They're behind the scenes and really awesome at what they do as well. This particular deal, you know where Gunter is? Everybody know where Gunter is in the room? It's in Gunter. I think Eric did a good job of showing you the location. Any questions there? We'll keep spinning through this. Talk about the annexation. This is the concept plan Eric has already spoken to. So we'll just keep cruising. Some of the elevations we have talked to, we've got great builders on the line in this deal. They are very excited about the opportunity to be in Gunter. I think builders have been wanting to come to town for a while, and I think this opportunity has really opened up for them. It's something that's not the 1 acre product, which has been a challenge for a lot of builders in the past. So we're excited about that. These are just some sample elevations. Of note, Eric pointed this out, those 2 doors over here might actually be a garage door if you look on the right of the property, because the size of these lots, most of these will have front entry homes. But these are examples of a model, which don't typically have garages.
And just kind of go over the different, what that house type is that we talked about, the farmhouse styles that
Okay.
we're proposing.
Yeah, so this would be an example of like a farm, y'all correct me, y'all are the builders, farmhouse style home. This is more of a contemporary.
Yeah, there's 2 different types of elevation
Yeah.
product type.
Yeah, so 2 different product types allowed here. With the masonry components, you'll see.
What do you think, what's the pricing gonna be?
You know, so I can tell you this without 100% confidence, but what we're talking with the builders about is in the 4s to 5s, some maybe in the 6s. But that's the plan right now. So we'll see where they end up, but that's the plan as of today. So this is just the last example of the home elevation. You've already, you covered all.
That's our old
Yeah.
land use plan by the way too.
So we talked about this, the traffic studies. This is just more examples. These are actually excerpts of the traffic study. So you guys are more than welcome to have this presentation. I think we can distribute that after this if you don't have it already. We wanted to make sure that you could get into the community quickly and safely, and also exit the community safely. So that was the goal of the traffic study. I think we were able to accomplish that. And so we just wanted to note that on this presentation. It's been done. We got the final version of that maybe a couple weeks back. So all has been completed on the traffic study. One of the things we know is important is landscape and amenities for the community. We just have some design objectives on the side, from signage to we're going to have a bridge concept that we think will be really fun and cool. Detention pond, community park. We are planning a trail to be in the property. Shade structures, we're going to show you some renderings of that here in just 1 second. Trey is the landscape architect guy. Trey likes to spend way too much money to make communities pretty, but he's really good at it. So here's some renderings for you. I think Eric pointed this out as well. So where the floodplain is, we do have to manage around the flood, and so we will know more as we do our flood study what actual vegetation and things we can put in that flood zone. But our plan is to really do this right. We want something that's pretty, that's appealing. We love the idea of keeping to the kind of a small town feel, but it's walkable, bikeable, kind of a friendly environment. So that's the plan there. Here's some additional details which you can see, and there's actually some samples of the signage, samples of the roadway. You can't really see that bridge very well, but there's actually a picture of the bridge, which we have a drawing here we'll show you, with stone and some railing on top that we think will be a really nice feature as you drive into the community. And here's a picture of that rendering of what we're hoping to accomplish there. Here's some more landscapes. See, I told you, Trey likes to spend the money. So in that one little pocket area, you'll see we've wanted to create a pocket park essentially, where there's a playground for kids, There's a shade structure as well, and then you'll see on the northern portion of that park is just open space for folks to play. Development notes, this has all been gone through, so we can run through this again, but residential and commercial, I will tell you from our perspective as a developer, we love developing single-family product, and we love developing lots for single-family home builders, but what we really think about is we think about the home buyer, and we want the home buyer to be in a community where they feel they're proud of it, they feel safe, and oftentimes what developers are doing today is when a property's in the ETJ is they say, man, let's just get it out of there so we can go build whatever we want. This particular deal for us, we really are convicted. We think it's a great opportunity for the city, but we also think it's a great opportunity and the best use for those residents to be in the city of Gunter. So again, we really appreciate you all working with us on this, but that is our heart in this, is to really create a great environment within the community of Gunter. So these are just some additional notes. We've talked to all these, I think spoke to all these already in the presentation with Eric, so I don't need to spend too much time on this. If you have any questions on the offsite water and sewer, we have all collectively beat our head against the wall trying to get this figured out, and we are happy to say we have a plan. We have a plan.
We have a plan.
We have a plan. We got a plan.
It's changed so many times with Mustang and having to
The routing of it.
the routing of it.
Yes.
So I'm glad I said the plan.
Yeah, we have a plan. So we're working on finalizing this with Mustang as we speak, just putting, I guess, our words on paper. So we're in the process of that now. As Eric mentioned, this has been a significant, significant part of the process for us, and is a tremendous cost impact. But working with you guys, I think we're there. So we're very excited about continuing to move forward. Let me see. HOA. So we had talked about the parks a little bit. Did you mention that already?
No, I did not. I was getting ready to, but you can go ahead and cover it. That the HOA is gonna have the parks in the floodplain, but it'll still be accessible to all Gunter citizens for now, and then eventually we might discuss the city taking it over, who knows, but.
So we still plan and anticipate on maintaining it as part of the HOA, but it would be open access as well.
Can I ask you a question about your HOAs?
Yes, ma'am.
Are your HOA words, are they compiled of members of the community or mostly management people?
That's a good
How does
question.
that work?
I will tell you, first and foremost, we have a great HOA management company. There are some that are not so great, but we have a great one. We've done several deals with them, and they're really, really good at what they do. Typically, the way the HOA management or the HOA board is structured is it is actually structured with the development team until such a time as we get enough homeowners, and then we have. I mean, if you could get below zero in a desire perspective, we would have a negative desire. We don't want to be on that HOA board for long.
What
So
is that time when there's enough homeowners? What's the declaratory been happening for a percentage?
there is a percentage. I don't know that I know that exact number. Do you know that?
A lot of times it's like 75, so some will go a little bit
I'd say yes.
less than that.
Mine in
75%
Fort Worth
will
was
not.
once we did 50% out of the 63 lots. That's when they formed the board and the developer turned it over to us. We don't have any verbiage like that in the developer agreement, unless council is so inclined to want something like that.
I'm not a real keen fan of HOAs. I got one that I'm stuck in right now that sucks, and I don't want to particularly name it.
It's not that, we already discussed that.
I don't like developers staying in longer than they need to be there.
Yeah.
They need to give it over to the homeowners, but the homeowners run it, and I certainly don't like management companies coming in and telling the homeowners what to do.
Yeah.
I'm already not real keen on the side of these lots, and if there's a homeowners association that isn't run by the homeowners, I'm even more concerned. So I'd like to see a lot more on that before I make a decision on anything.
I'm gonna phone a friend. Is that still a thing? I will text a buddy. I can't. I'll text the HOA management company we use. I can't remember what the percentage is. But again, we have no motivation to stay in, with the exception, our goal and our intent is to keep things operating and beautiful and maintained. The reason why in the past we don't just turn things over to homeowners is oftentimes homeowners, when they're new, they're maintaining that entire property and maintaining the lots and all those things is a bit of a challenge. So what we've done is we've typically stayed in. I believe the mark has been around 75%. Meadows now is taken over by homeowners. We're not involved in that HOA at all anymore. The last deal we developed, North Creek, We completed that development in, about a year ago, and we're already out. So that is our intent, but I can find that.
It's
number.
a small,
Yeah.
280
It's a buffer
homes.
till you get the houses
Yeah,
filled.
Right.
until you have enough.
And I wouldn't suggest to you that the city doesn't necessarily want HOAs either, but they're a necessary thing when you have all these amenities and these open spaces that are created or have to happen in these still. If you wanted to add some verbiage into the developer agreement, we can certainly do that, that there's a certain percentage of homes built and permits released, that then how we enforce that or track it, I'm not sure, but to turn it over to, they're still gonna have an HOA management company. I don't think any HOA has the board, but they need to understand and know the CC&Rs, the conditions, covenants, and restrictions. And we've asked to see those when we go through the planning process, when they develop those, to kind of see, because we need to make sure that there's no conflicting information or there's consistency with the developer agreement too. And that the CC&Rs don't circumvent any of that.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
CCRs can have a problem if they're not done right, and I see too many done wrong, so.
Yeah, I think they have a tendency to use them canned way too many times and not tailor them more specifically for where they're at. But I don't know who their HOA management company that they use is, so.
I can tell you, and they'd be happy to talk to you as well. It's Legacy Southwest, they're a great group, they manage the meadows. And so we can get that addressed from a time perspective. Well, he's texting me a bunch of questions to my question. So my phone a friend is not effective at the moment, but I will let you know as soon as I know. But, yeah, again, our heart is we're not gonna put the homeowners in a bad spot. We probably go way out of our way, and again, Trey and company like to spend a lot of money to make sure we keep people happy, and that's what we do. So I understand the concern, but we'll definitely get that addressed. Okay, any other questions on that? I think that that's it. That was quick, right?
What are the sizes of lots?
The 60s and 70s.
What's that in acres?
They're 7,200 square feet and 8,400 square feet, so divide that by 43,560 square feet, which is what an acre is.
I'll let you do
Yeah, I'll
that.
tell you.
Much better at math.
I'm not gonna, it's a free ride here, let's figure it out.
Fifth, yeah,
70
fourth,
is
fourth.
not quite a third.
It's fifth or a third of an acre.
It's
A third of an acre?
If you wanna keep it to acres instead of square feet. And again, in our subdivision, in our zoning ordinance, your SF1 is 75 by 120. And your largest is the SFE estate, which gets you up to half an acre, but it's still not an acre.
I'll speak on behalf of Williams, he's not here, both of us cringe when we see these little bitty lots so packed together, it just makes my stomach hurt, so.
On behalf of Wade, that sounds like coming from you.
No, Wade and I both.
No, so,
You can ask Wade, you can ask me, we moved here to not have developments like this, that was the reason we got out here, and we're bringing it in, so I'm just not keen on it.
Well, we can either have rooftops or we'd have smokestacks.
right,
Oh, we're gonna get smokestacks, but no matter what we do.
so 60 and 70 foot lots are not super small.
It just.
So we're not gonna have
Well, this
bigger
is a-
lots all over Gunter.
Really
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, we probably should have printed a larger print. I apologize. 'Cause it doesn't-
And I would
doesn't look
suggest
small.
to you that, we've had developers come in that wanna do 40s and 50s, and we say no, because we know what those lot counts are in already entitled developments, like Platinum Ranch and stuff, so.
Especially if it's a really large one with all
Yeah.
that,
Yeah, when you're only talking, the acres that they are here, they do have to get a certain amount of density.
So
To the next
the
project.
lots on the other side of the bridges are a third of an acre, right?
Yes.
So these would be roughly the same size.
Yes.
And these are actually
Nice
bigger
homes.
than phase 2A of the bridges that is on
They are.
121 that's under construction right now. They're
I
bigger
think
than
those are
those.
50s.
Correct, 50s,
Yeah.
correct.
So these are about, the size of the ones on the other side of the bridges.
Bringing it tax base, we wanted to get a little grocery store.
Yeah, we have to have the rooftops in order to encourage the retail commercial that we're looking for, and not just keep on piecemeal and Preston Road. I mean, these are in a great spot.
Is it manageable when we're talking about balancing, development, rooftops, because you have to have both, they've got to support each other. So a community of 208 homes is a nice balance to some, one coming in with 5,000 or 2,200 or 3,000. We can manage this and have, water sewer can keep up with this, development can keep up with this. We got, good size for the community
I think it is.
to have some growth.
And I would say the school
Without
district
overwhelm.
would agree that it's a good development because they need more students, so they need this, more of this,
They do.
not middle housing, but more housing diversity
Right.
than what's available on 1 and 2 acre lots or the bridges, or something like Platinum Ranch is still probably 5 or 10 years away from ever being on the ground and having residents living there to fill the school district.
How long is this gonna take?
To complete the development of the
Yeah.
homes. So the development process, it's gonna be contingent on some things with offsites. So I'll tell you this, but don't hold me to it. So we think we've got about 6 months of work before we start moving dirt, and moving dirt's usually between that 12 to 18-month range. Again, because the offsites, I mean, we were pulling sewer from a long way away, because that could fluctuate a little bit. So the builders are hoping to have houses moving, probably like June 2026, get them, sounds like it's far away, but it's not.
Yeah.
Get the rooftops starting to go.
Maybe 2 years to start laying foundations.
Yes, sir, I think that's probably a good conservative estimate. We'll obviously.
We'll do what we can to help expedite it within means. It's not, the thing that they're dealing with is totally out of our control.
Right.
Which is the
Exactly.
infrastructure offsite.
And I'll just kind of remind you guys, we won't talk a whole lot about it, but it is in the agreement that the bid is in here. So we talked about financials in executive session, but this one, after we brought the agreement, we can talk a little bit about it, but this is a very, very good conservative bid. It got a lot of skin in the game. I think it was like 68% you're funding up front. That is huge. And then the bid, the LTV to lean to value ratio is really good. So the risk is very low. This is a good sized community to get development that we need. And it was very well done. So I appreciate you guys bringing us a bid that makes sense.
Thank
I'll
you,
just
thank
say
you.
that.
And I should have mentioned, we do have our PID consultant here with us,
Yeah.
as well as our law firm that actually drafted the DA. So any questions, we want to make sure we are uber prepared. So we're happy to answer any.
And it's actually, when we talked about it, we all kind of decided that in comparison to other things we've seen, and other things that have been offered, this should probably, may even be, kind of the policy moving forward. It was that, well, done, so.
Thank you.
I think it's a solid development.
Is it possible to get a copy of the new development agreement?
I'll give you the most updated one, but in lieu of that, for now, if I could just ask if you do want to make a motion to approve the development agreement, shown that we get you the most up-to-date one, but for sure that it is the one titled Gunter 66, and then that Article 10 that has the 10.2 that has notices that it's going to the mayor, not the city manager. And then most,
Non-substantive.
not substantive, but the most important one would be Exhibit B, which is the development standards. We'll insert the new one in there. So they just put the minimum square footage, or the lot coverage was not on there. And then also just the verbiage change to make sure that we're not just saying the East Main Street District identified on the concept plan will include non-single family uses. That's not good enough. It's gonna say permitted uses within the C1 neighborhood retail commercial. More specificity, because we're not gonna have an issue with it being C1 and then someone thinking they can come in and do M2.
Yeah.
Because it's
Make
non-residential.
that crystal clear, yes.
But that's, and then, yeah, if you guys wanna see the PID worksheet again, we can provide that as well before that next meeting on that. But that's a whole other meeting, and you'll go over that in detail.
I can bring that back, that's what I have right here, so I can bring that back on, the third, that meeting on the third, because that's when they'll introduce the bid petition, and then on the 17th, we will have on the agenda to create the bid, with the annexation of the zoning, and all the hearings, everything that come with the
And then if you want the traffic impact analysis, I can give that to you. It's great reading.
I'd like to see that.
I'm sure you would.
And the actual agreement PD planning on signing.
The actual PD that we're planning on doing, you can look at Exhibit B that I mentioned, that's the development standards. That's basically what will outline what the PD is, because there's a 60-foot lot criteria and the 70-foot lot criteria. And of course, C1 is non-developed, there's no site plan for it at this point. They'll have to come through and go through the development process when they sell or when someone else develops that.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure what we would vote on tonight if we don't have an actual instrument. Conceptually, I'm okay with it, but our structure next to go on. We don't have something we can say we're gonna adopt.
Well,
So-
if it's a Gunter 66 and we're gonna include the exhibit B,
Yes,
and that is the,
that's the developer agreement that covers all the development agreement and all the requirements.
Where's that exhibit B? Is it possible to get this a little earlier than 3 days before the meeting in the future? I mean, I don't always have time to stop and clear my schedule and read these things, and I like to have.
And when we get another one, I can outline, I mean, there are about 20 pages, just legalese, jiggering road that attorneys have to have and everybody has to have, but it's not substantive
Well, we've been
to what
working
you're
on
looking
this,
at.
just restructuring.
The exhibit B for me is another plan.
What?
Exhibit B for me is another sub-plan. Exhibit C.
All right, Exhibit C is the development standards.
Yeah, see, let's see.
So the new PD is gonna include exhibit C as an attachment?
Well, yes, it'll have,
It's gonna be mentioned in the PD.
correct. Like every other developer agreement, when the zoning comes in, it refers back to the developer agreement and all the development standards that were established in that, because that's what the zoning is established off of, is development standards.
So is there any reason, would this mess up our plans with scheduling at all, to push this to the third, when we do the petition? Or is that mess up
I think
the
that'll,
scheduling at all?
instinctually, I think it messes up the scheduling, but I'm not positive.
You guys do.
So I move that we accept the development plan with the changes that Eric discussed.
But an exhibit C not B.
Yes, the correct development standards inserted in it.
Yes, okay. Okay, so Cindy, you're the first?
well, second.
Still doesn't answer my question about how the HOA is gonna get it.
I've got that answer. My phone a friend came in. Okay, good. So after the last lot is sold, we turn over the declaratory rights, which either myself or one of my two brothers would be, and then we,
After the last lot,
after the last lot is sold. So this is what we call on a takedown schedule with builders. So the builders are contracted to take down a certain number of lots every quarter. And so as soon as that last takedown occurs, then it turns over. So that would be roughly, oh man, I'm gonna quote, that roughly be 24 months after the completion of the development, maybe a little sooner,
so is the last lot sold to the homeowner or to the developer?
to the builder, yes, sir.
To the builder.
Yes, sir. So it's maybe sooner than that. I gotta look at our terms, but it's quicker than you would think. But that's when we would turn over our declarant rights. As soon as that last takedown's done, we turn the
So it
declarant.
could conceivably be 50% vertical homes, residents.
That's
Conceivably,
probably right.
Conceivably be never, if one lot stays never bought by a builder, which is the problem we have in another development, so I'd like to see something more definitive on how
That
that
wouldn't
turned
be in
over.
their best interest, though, that would actually.
They just want
cost
to
them.
keep
They
it
want the
nice
lot
to get
sold.
the lot sold, build it in there.
But if it
It's not
turns
in
into,
Dodge's best interest either, but he's still sitting there and it'll never get turned over.
But that's how that
I just like to see
organization
something a little
works.
more definitive than waiting for some lot to ever get.
we could probably
You
put a,
keep one lot forever and then never get out, so.
yeah, we could potentially look at a percentage and, you know, once we talk to the HOA, CC&R and stuff, we can look at that.
Yeah, I'd like to see something like that.
Our history has been, we don't hold on, but I understand the concern.
I'm glad to hear that, but that, from other developers, that's not been my experience over the years, over many years of dealing with HOAs. And especially the ones for some unknown reason, they hang on, they don't get out, I just don't get it.
So can I amend my motion to include, something about the HOA in the development agreement?
Wouldn't that be in the CC and Orange?
Well, you could,
Or-
but a lot of developer agreements do state that you will establish an HOA and
We'll turn it over.
there
to
could be
the-
more turned over into whatever mechanism or triggering there is if you want.
Yeah.
Yes.
If, the last lot gets sold to the builder, or 50% of the homeowners have come on,
I make a motion that we,
Hold on 1 second, so Courtney, you're going to say something, because we're also limited with what we can.
Well, what I was gonna say is make sure you follow the proper procedure, parliamentary procedure to amend the motion, vote on the amendment, and then vote on the main motion.
okay, I amend the motion to include language regarding the turnover of the homeowners association to the occupant residents.
And with the appendix C.
Yes.
Okay, with those two.
With the development standards.
That was in the original motion.
Yes.
That was in the original motion.
So we gotta vote on the HOA thing. Somebody has to second it.
Or all of it, so sitting with the first.
I'll second city's amendment.
Okay,
We have to vote on the amendment first.
William with the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous.
Now back to the original motion.
Right.
Are we gonna start using Robert's rules now?
No, and Alan seconded my motion, so now we have to vote on that.
Okay, so sitting with the first, Alan was with the second on the original one. And all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, so that is unanimous.
You're good.
Okay, thank you all very much. Appreciate you.
Okay. We're going to, this is ready to go, so we're moving on to agenda item number 11, and that is to discuss your, are you gonna present on thoroughfare first?
I am real quickly,
Correct,
and then we'll have Mr. Burnett come up and talk about it, because. Back to what I was. That's not the one I want. City council one first, sorry, Claire.
So we'll have the presentation first, then I'll open it up to public hearing.
And have Clay come up at that time?
Clay,
Just-
every number 11 on the
Okay.
Every number 11 on the agenda.
So, this item was tabled at the last time that we brought it to you because there was some concern from some citizens. So we have Clay Burnett here tonight with Hewlett Thrillers, who's working with the Grayson County MPO on the Thoroughfare Master Plan. So he knows a lot more about it than I ever will. But this is an exhibit of what primarily Gunter and the pink outlines in there underneath all the red, blue, and yellow thoroughfares on the Thoroughfare Plan. This was one of the pieces of property in the darker blue that someone had a concern with, that it cuts through their property.
Is
Can't
that
see
the
it.
Hunters? Is that the Hunters property?
I think so. I know probably everybody in the audience probably can't see because the blue kind of blurs in together there, but. Well, there we go. So we're basically just the county went through the process, and Clay will present that, the process that they went through in the update, and some other information to cover a little bit better. So let me open up his presentation and he can come up. You need to get to know what that is. It's important for you.
It's some kind of stupid, weird.
Stupid? You're not very politically correct.
He's a fan of Cougars.
It's called a power cat, for those of you that are ignorant to greatness. Okay, there you go, Clay. Mayor, did you say you want to open the public hearing for him, or is he part of me?
So
Really?
he's going to present first, right?
Okay,
Just
yeah, I
kind of
mean, because his is
explain this.
basically going over it, and then we can open
Yes,
up for public
then
comment.
we'll open up the public hearing, because he may answer some questions that somebody has,
Okay.
so.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I am Clay Barnett. I am a consultant for the Grayson County MPO. For those of you not familiar with the MPO, we are very privileged to have an MPO in Grayson County. It opens us up to both federal and state transportation funds. So the purpose of the thoroughfare.
Clay, before you start, can you tell everyone what an APO is?
Yes, an MPO is a metropolitan planning organization. They are mandated by federal transportation law anytime a region is over 50,000 in population with at least 1,000 per square mile. The cities of Sherman and Denison combined hit that total back in the 1970s when that regulation was passed. And so there has been an MPO in existence in Grayson County since the 1970s. A few years back, I guess it was 2019, the policy board voted to extend the boundaries of the MPO to cover all the limits of Grayson County. But it had covered Gunter prior to that. So, is that what you were looking for?
Yes, sir, thank you very much.
All right. So the purpose of the thoroughfare plan is to identify transportation needs to serve future growth, preserve corridors, and acquire right-of-way for planned facilities as development occurs, and to guide public investments in improving transportation facilities and services. So the thoroughfare plan, what it is it's really a guide to serve as a long and short-term tool in order to plan out where your roadways are going to go. It's used to coordinate with cities and other agencies. Prior to the 2018 plan, there was a different plan for Van Alstyne, a different plan for Gunter, a different plan for Howell, and none of the roads lined up. And so in 2018, the Commissioners Court charged the MPO with coming up with a thoroughfare plan that combined those as well as the one that Pottsboro had and Denison had and Sherman had, and combine all those into one document so that we're not building different thoroughfares that don't match up at the end of the day. So
So it's the one from 2018, exactly what we have now?
I do recall that Gunter adopted the 2018 thoroughfare plan. There's been some changes. I'll kind of go through those during the presentation. The thoroughfare plan is not a bond program, not a capital improvement plan, and it is not intended to solve all the future transportation challenges that the region is going to face in the future. So the study area for the thoroughfare plan, we looked at the entire county, all 979 square miles of it. Our population in 2020 was 135,000, and we have 17 municipalities within Grayson County. We did start off with the thoroughfare plans for Denison, Sherman, as well as we looked at, I believe that's Denton County's Howell's, I believe, and Gunter's. So, yes, we also looked at Collin County, Denton County, and Cook County as well. This is the typical section for a major arterial. It requires anywhere from 110 to 157 foot of right-of-way. Typical section for a minor arterial, it requires anywhere from 86 feet to 115 feet worth of right-of-way. So when developing the Grayson County thoroughfare plan, we looked at all of our highways, tollways, principal major arterials, and our minor arterials. We did not look at collectors. That was not a task we were charged with on a countywide thoroughfare plan. On north-south, we identified State Highway 160, US 69, and this is from the eastern side of the county to the western side of the county. US 75, State Highway 289, Grayson County Toll Road, and US 377. East-west, we identified FM 121, FM 902, and US 82 as principal arterials. If you notice, there is a distinct difference between the number of north-south roadways and the number of east-west roadways. That is a concern that we have. So we really need to work on preserving our east-west corridors. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to travel from Whitewright to Tioga in the future. We did release for public comment the thoroughfare plan back on July 7th, 2023. We had a public hearing scheduled for August 9th, 2023. We have presentations to Grayson County and the municipalities. Gunter's is tonight. A little bit delayed, but we're getting around to it. The public comment period ended on August 18th for the thoroughfare plan. The adoption of the MPO was gonna be on October 4th, but it's still outstanding, so, and adoption by the Grayson County is still outstanding. Sherman has adopted it, Denison's adopted it. Whitesboro has adopted it.
We're in 2024 right now, right?
Yeah.
So with that
Yeah.
one, that
So
formalized.
We've had a challenge getting the word out about adopting it.
So basically, it's supposed to be October 4th, but it's still outstanding, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you were gonna comment on the fact that it says 23 instead of 24, that's like a typo or something.
So how do we pay for these roadways? So there's a number of different ways. You can extract it from developers. The general way to do that these days is through impact fees. City or county bonds, there's opportunities with our county registration fee, as well as tolling opportunities for the Grayson County Toll Road and TxDOT federal funds. So a little bit on the county vehicle registration fee optimization. I'm not gonna read this all to you, but we all are aware that we pay when we go to Grayson County to register our vehicles. Those amounts can be varied depending on what regulations the county has. So currently, I really can't read that. But you can see that it varies across the state. There are opportunities to increase that here in Grayson County. So other funding sources at the federal and state level, there's federal programs for reimbursement, there's state highway funds, there's non-traditional funds. TxDOT has 12 categories of funding. Grayson County receives category 2, which is the metropolitan and urban area corridor projects, but there are 11 others that can be used to fund roadway projects through TxDOT. Other non-traditional funding sources, so you could go through the city of Gunter and start creating toll roads. City of Cibolo did that, and so that is one way of paying for roadways. You could get roadways designated as a congressional or legislative priority funding. That is very rare. Of course, we could optimize our county vehicle registration. You could create transportation reinvestment zones where you create a zone around an undeveloped piece of property they develop, and then you use the increase increment in taxes in order to pay for the roadway. You can do a right-of-way purchase relocation, utility relocation type program. The state infrastructure bank has really low cost loans that are available, and so you can reach out to TxDOT on that if you want more information. I'd be happy to share that with you. There's transportation development credits for local match for federal funds, and of course there's always the off chance that there might be federal funding programs come through legislature in Washington DC.
These fundings have to be towards roadways that are indicated on the thoroughfare master plan, so they wouldn't be able to be collectors. They have to be the arterials and the major and minor that are shown, correct?
Correct. So a little more information on transportation reinvestment zones if you want to take a screenshot of that, or I'll leave the presentation with Eric.
It's on my thumb drive right now.
With that, I'd be happy to answer questions that you have. I will go back and explain a little bit on the development of the thoroughfare plan. So we went through the 2018 plan. There's been a number of changes in Gunter since 2018. At the time, the city manager was the developer of the original thoroughfare plan in Gunter, and really wanted to stick with the original thoroughfare plan in Gunter. And so when you look back at the 2018 thoroughfare plan, that really hasn't been updated in the Gunter area since the 1970s. And so when we started the 2023 plan, we took a fresh look at Gunter. We visited with the city manager that was here at the time, which was not the same city manager from 2018. And worked out an agreement with them. They were looking at hiring another firm to do the thoroughfare plan. I think that somehow fell through. I didn't really understand why you would pay another firm to develop a thoroughfare plan when the county's willing to do that for you for free, but that was the decision that was made at the time. That fell through, and so the county took over and went ahead and designed the thoroughfare plan for Gunter. We did make sure that it matched up with Collin County, which was a problem with the previous thoroughfare plan. So it's been through a number of revisions since 2018, just based upon political circumstances. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
So since 2018, you've made some changes that are engineering based and not politically based.
Correct.
Okay, great.
So, anyone have
That was the only
questions right
question I
now?
had, as long as it's engineered, not political,
Right.
that's all I care about.
And I would just say that, we utilize it as Clay showed you the typical cross-section of the major arterials. So as people come in and plat on Preston, or any of those identified as major and minor arterials, we acquire the necessary right-of-way so that we don't, even though it's a TxDOT system road at this point in time, if we don't acquire the right-of-way, what ends up happening is we develop to the existing right-of-way today. TxDOT comes in, sure, they acquire the right-of-way, and we lose our landscape buffers and our setbacks and stuff. And next thing you know, we've got a parkway and parking. And so aesthetically, it kind of destroys things. So knowing, because I work for TxDOT in some communities, I don't understand why they didn't, they had the thoroughfare plan, but they did, the site planning came in and developments came in, and they didn't acquire the right-of-way just because it was a TxDOT road. It's shown on your thoroughfare master plan one way or the other, and that's why it's there. It's how we utilize it. Can it shift some? Yes, but on existing roadways like Preston, we need to stick to it and go. Now, we're not getting the maximum 150 because we don't know what the true road design, that's normally at intersections, right, Clay, where it would get wider.
Yes,
By right section. They
you'll
can
need
come
to
and
acquire additional
acquire
right-of-way.
corners there. So we would take the general section, which is 110 feet, and take a proportional amount off of both sides as it comes in platting wise, so that we maintain.
That's something
our
that Briscoe did, that was very, very smart. They focused on doing that for, to get everything they could right in, you have a plan when you have that. So I think that's important for us to move that direction as well.
So the east-west was 121, 903, and 882.
Correct.
56 is never gonna be in that.
56 was not listed because it runs so close to US 82. If you actually look at 56, the traffic numbers have dropped steadily on 56 every year since US 82 was open.
That's South Bay, and all that, the leasing they do, nobody wants to drive on 56.
That's true too. I will mention that when we went through the exercise after the 2018 thoroughfare plan, we placed the thoroughfares in accordance with best practice. And so there are reasons to locate, if you're a residential builder, of course, that negatively impacts you. If you are a commercial developer, that positively impacts you. And so we get a number of complaints. I want this one moved off of me, and I want this one moved closer to me, depending on whether they're building residential or commercial. But we stuck to developing the thoroughfare plan based upon best practices.
So I think in the 18, Savage and Strong was another east-west feeder.
Well, and we have, there's a number of consistent east-west corridors that we've identified in the thoroughfare plan. We did not designate them as principal. So a
Which they would
principal,
need a lot of work.
Yeah, they're not even there.
Yeah, well, and even some of the principals, we went off their current alignment in order to take out some of the curves. For example, you take 121 between here and Van Alstyne, you go around the
Yes.
curves, as soon as you get out of Gunter, you go through another set of curves when you get closer toward Van Alstyne. Those curves are extremely short. The general, I mean, you know, I've seen some of the radiuses look like they're in the 400s and 500s. For a design speed of 45, which is what you generally see on a thoroughfare, the minimum centerline radius is 1,100 feet.
So you
And
straighten them out?
so basically it straightens them out. But in some cases, the turns were so severe, we just relocated the road straight and tied into another section of it. So you'll see that a number of times on the thoroughfare that, for example, it leaves 902 for a pretty good portion of 902 and goes straight and then ties back into 902 where there's not the curves that go around Dorchester.
Right, it's going to tie in 903 eventually.
I believe so. And I did bring them out if we need to pull it up. I don't know if you have it or not. I brought it on thumb drive if we want to.
Well, let's just wait and see if we got it.
Okay.
So, I guess you guys don't have any questions, we'll open up the public hearing? Yeah. Okay, so let me open the public hearing at 8:13. If anyone wants to come to the podium, or have anybody that needs to speak. So, public hearing. Seeing none, I will close it at 8:13. Okay, so, the public hearing is closed in thoroughfare, so number 12 is to consider adopting the updated 2024 Grayson County Government Plan. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Cliff.
Until item 11 and 12, you have
Do you
It was
need
my
a
pleasure.
mobile command center or a semi truck? We got one.
We have that
Sell it to
guy.
you cheap.
I think I'll pass on that.
Okay.
I think you tow. Okay.
It's yours.
Right?
I move to adopt the very well engineered NPO plan has been proposed for this year.
Okay, I have William with the first,
I'll second.
Dave with the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. All right, we'll move to agenda item number 13. To hear public comments. Do you have a presentation on this first?
I was gonna talk on it briefly.
Okay, yes, so go ahead, why don't we do that before we open up the public hearing?
All righty.
We don't know what we're doing.
All right. Okay, Mayor, Council, well, we're looking tonight to adopt the Park Open Space Master Plan. These slides up here, and by the way, it's a 90-page document, so I didn't want to, I'll spare everybody with the 90-page document. Just what you need to know is it went through quite a bit of public input. This started in 2022, I believe the spring of 2022. Holly Moore is here, she's the president of Park Board. She was involved in this at the beginning, I was not. But it went through Park Board, it went through public survey and town hall meetings. So it's a document that's well vetted. Unfortunately, the document took a long time to reach fruition because we had some production issues from the University of Texas at Arlington at the end of this process. However, what it is it's a document that's a flexible document that usually you update in a city every 5 to 7 years. There's elements in the document that would basically set benchmarks established by the National Recreation and Park Association. And so it's benchmarks for a city your size, what sort of parks you should have. It sort of shows whether you're behind the 8 ball or you're on track and what you need to acquire and build. It also, from a development standpoint, ties into park fees. So one of the justifications for park fees when you approach a developer is you're trying to build certain elements and acquire land and property to meet those benchmarks. So that's what the plan establishes. If council approves it tonight, it was in the packet, but the plan would go up on the website this coming week. And I believe any member of the park board or myself could answer any questions of the public or council specifically to that document. I will say it's a living document though. So some of the things in that document, I would say are less feasible than others. What we really wanted to do also in that document is it focused on the existing park, which is a 13-acre park that Gunter already has. And don't know if you see this anywhere but here, but just what it basically focuses on is the need for fields. That's gonna be one of the crises the city faces upcoming, just like when you saw tonight, you saw 208 homes coming. There's pocket parks, but the recreational impact of a development like that is something that's gonna have to be looked at. And so the document you have before you that was in the packet looks to basically address those needs, and that the city will need to acquire future land to meet those needs elsewhere. But this does show basically a park that will have two different divisions. You have current baseball fields. You'll expand the west side of the park with athletic facilities, and then the east side of the park, right now you really only have a playground, but we're looking at the pavilion coming online and then other elements. It's going to be a highly active park. There's been people before that's like, well, we wanna read or do this. The future of that park is very highly programmed. With one of the things that are identified as a need is parking. Parking is one of the crucial needs. It's hard to create a park, different restroom facilities, like I said. So it is a document that I hope council approves tonight because it did go through all the necessary public processes. And I'd be happy to answer, or Holly could answer any questions that the public might have during the public hearing for council.
And I just wanted to point out for the audience that all those trees won't be there.
No.
Well,
Some of them.
Mayor and Adam, if you would, just, you did mention the 208 dwelling units or homes coming. Talk about the benefit of the park fee that comes along with that.
That's what I was saying. The park fees that that are identified when a development comes through, that's one of the things that ties back into the park plan. So those fees that are in those documents for the development that's already been passed by ordinance, that's basically what you use to back it up, is the fact that we now have a park plan. I would imagine as development changes, Eric has experience in park development plans, I do as well. It's a dynamic plan, so it could be altered in another 3 to 5 years. You could come back and make revisions to the plan. A lot of the plan, I'll say this, the park board did a good job, the public did a good job, but a lot of it is boilerplate. There's elements of the plan that are just boilerplate, and that's standard among all park plans.
So this is something you need if you were gonna get like federal grants or state grants, you gotta have this plan.
It ties back to the plan.
Okay. If we adopt this plan tonight, we can still amend it later.
Yes, it's a guideline. It's just a guidance. It actually, this is conceptual. So you're adopting a conceptual rendering, but you are not, because it's not engineered and nor is it tied, just like Clay was saying, their plan is not tied to capital. Well, this plan is not tied to your capital either, as far as assets go. So you may or may not develop some elements of the plan. Usually I'll say most plans, what finishes at the top of almost all plans is, which most developments take into consideration, such as the Gunter 66, is trail systems. And the potential of interconnectivity with trail systems is right at the top of every list. Rec centers and activity centers finish up right up at the top as well, but they have a substantial price tag.
And if I could say, 95% of this plan was done by the community. So we did mail outs where people could fill out surveys of what they wanted. We did email blasts, and we also had a meeting in here where people could come in and fill out stuff and talk about things in person. And then my personal favorite, because that's my daughter, at the time she was 9, so she was like heavily involved in arts and things like that. But we had even a part where we have little kids come
this plan also helps us if we come into an opportunity to joint venture with a developer or something like that on Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Yeah.
Have $500,000 to $1 million matching grants,
Yeah.
but it doesn't always have to be cash. It can be land dedication,
But you can't get that.
fee in lieu of, things like that, but if you don't have a master plan, you're not gonna get enough, you're not gonna score enough in the point scoring criteria to even as small as we are in a different category than other places like larger suburbs, you still aren't gonna score enough without that.
Even though we have Adam, that's still.
Yes.
He's worth a couple points, but you need like 30, and I can bring maybe a half a point myself, that's it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so let me open this up for a public hearing then. I will open it up at 8:22. Do I have anybody that wants to speak at the public hearing on the parks?
Don Anderson, 102 Falls Creek Lane. I like the plan, but does it address the problem that we've got with the erosion of the water line coming through there, the drainage?
So that was my question actually for Adam too. All of that, you know, on that, I guess, south side, do we?
No, the erosion, so the plan, if anything, there's components of this plan that I believe are gonna be impacted by a drainage study. And so I think when the drainage study gets underway, I think you're gonna see that you're gonna need to carry some of the water potentially through the park, and then you're going to have to address that adjacent property. And that may be through acquisition, development, but I do think you're gonna have to, because that property is eroding into the park proper now. And so, but that's not, you can't really develop the plan with that piece parcel of property, but I do think it will come in through the drainage aspects when we do a drainage study.
It's changed a lot just in 1 year.
Yeah, we may end up with a big catfish pond.
Does it have to be catfish? Can it be something else besides catfish?
There's always good kid fish programs. Texas Parks and Wildlife does those as well.
Well, I'm one of these kind of guys that likes to bring a solution also to a problem, not just a problem, say somebody do something. One of the things that I'd recommend, if maybe we could possibly talk on that southeastern corner, the size of that drainage that's coming through there, maybe talking with Ameritech and either getting a reduced price on some of those large culverts, or maybe have them, if they might donate for the city on that part of it, if we pay for the installation and all. That would not only result in the fact that we could cover them up, extending the park. You don't have to worry about kids, balls, or anything else falling down into that ditch area and then them going down in there, because you don't know if there's snakes, crickets, or bed bugs, you know, that's down there, that when they go into it. You know, I haven't looked to see specifically where the erosion is on it. I don't know if it's further along the western part of it, on the very bottom there. But eventually, it's a problem you can look, since you've got ball sports all along that whole side of it.
Got an agenda item for parks, Adam? Okay, anybody else? All right, I'm gonna close public hearing at 8:25. So, we're going to move to agenda item number 14, and that is to discuss, act upon adoption of parks.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt parks, open space master plan, 24 through 39.
A second?
Okay, first with Dave, second with Cindy, all in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly.
Thanks, Holly.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you, Eric.
Good job.
Thank you, Adam.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council. Now we have some other way we can extort things out of developers when you park land. I mean,
No more local
Why?
park fees.
Okay, so agenda item number 15 says to discuss and act upon an ordinance adopting the 2021 International Building Codes. So, do you have something for us there?
yeah, I don't have any presentation, just a brief overview. We are currently under the 2015, so we're a little bit behind. Most municipalities have moved to the 2021. That's not the most recent ones, but Rarely, if ever, does anybody go with the most recent ones. But these get us, taking it to 2021, gets us up to date. Just real quickly, some of the most significant changes in the NEC, which is the electrical code, and then the IRC, which is the International Residential Code. And Councilman, please don't ask me what I call it international, they just do, because it sounds good, I guess. They're already being enforced due to the state required licensing electricians to wire the current state adopted codes. So some of them, and like our newer developments have come in, like Forney Fence and O'Reilly, they were doing 2021 anyway. But we still need to have it in our ordinance and be up to date. So some of the significant changes in the 2021 IRC, which we're dealing with the most, there's over 31 of them. I can go through each one of them if you'd like. Okay.
No, that's a lot of them.
Just wanted to ask.
Thanks.
Most of them do with safety things, some things like smoke alarm locations, habitable attics, vapor type exhaust venting type things, high efficiency lighting required in certain situations, insulation, some other things that were allowed to occur are now no longer allowed, such as exceptions allowing the existing chimney to vent replacement appliances has been deleted, so you can't do that anymore. And then surge protector devices and just other type of safety things for voltage and reciprocal outlets.
But surge protector requirements are in the residential code? They're not-
To some extent, they're in both the residential and the electrical code.
Are they in the NEC or are they in the residential code?
They're,
I guess I better go read those.
if you'd like to read them, they're only about 2 inches thick, but you go for it. From my understanding, I'm not a certified building official, but I worked with them before, and so there are things that cross over in the two. Some of them are location type things, not necessarily exactly how the wiring has to happen.
Right.
For instance, there's a requirement for certain outlets and GFI protection on islands if you design the house that way. But how it is exactly wired and going through the breaker box and stuff is then controlled by the electrical code. And that's partly why people like having these international codes, is because they are more unified, and they're not so one-offish on separate from one another. They look at them all together.
And they don't conflict. So the international residential will, when it gets to very technical part, it will scoot over and say, reference the National Electric Code, blah, blah, blah. So.
And of course, we don't spend a lot of time right now doing that. That's why we have Bureau Veritas and their inspectors that are certified in each one of those, either in the fire code or residential code. And they do our inspections on our permit submittals for both commercial and single family residential, or any residential for that matter. So
Just some housekeeping.
it's housekeeping, clean up, get up to speed on stuff.
Yeah.
It's tough.
But a lot.
Do it out.
But make the motion to adopt it, make the motion to adopt the 2021. Okay.
Okay, got it all first? David, the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
You've got more than 3 days to read the new code.
Yeah.
Read all of it.
All right, that motion carries, that's unanimous.
I'm still stuck on international. I wanna know if people in Spain and Portugal are using the same code.
In the UK, they do, that makes it feel any better.
Okay, so I have agenda item number 16, and this is approving the interlocal agreement that we have with Grayson County for EMS services. The agreement is exactly like it was last year, but I want to point you to page 1. I noticed that we actually approved this last year, but it didn't honor it. Chief Logan pointed out that he explained this last year, Captain Kramer did as well. On the bottom of it where it says there are 2 paramedics authorized, I'm scratching that, striking it to only 1. 1 is all we can do, that's what we've been doing. I did reach out to Samantha at the county today, and she said that was totally fine. That, that the agreement is still offered if we approve it with the 1 paramedic, because y'all good thing is that, with our volunteers, so many of them are, licensed and certified that there's a real good chance that we would end up with two at any given call anyway, so.
It sounded like several of them were trying to get their EMT certification.
There
They
are.
already have. So, you got your
I do. I was an EMT as of 2014.
She saved my life 2 or 3 times already.
I move that we authorize the interlocal agreement between Grayson County and the city of Gunter for EMS services.
The first was Cindy,
second.
second was Dave, all in favor?
Bye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Move on to number 17. Again, this is an agreement with, for fire. And this one is exactly like the one last year. We offer that again. Terms are the same. The support is the same. Do you have any questions over this agreement?
So they will pay us 22.
So this is, yes, and we are servicing, at the back of it, you should see a map. We're servicing a pretty large area as well. Yeah. So this is our volunteer fire districts. We go out in the counties, they help fund that because we're serving the county.
I make a motion to authorize the interlocal agreement.
So Dave with the first,
Second.
second with Cindy, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Move on to agenda item number 18, and this is authorizing a resolution approving the facilities agreement with the fire department. Gosh, how long have we been doing this one, Deidre? This is, yeah, very long time.
Has anything changed?
Isn't this their facility?
It is.
Yeah, it is.
So we
It'd be really nice of us to
So we're gonna
authorize that.
agree to allow ourselves to be here?
Exactly.
Okay.
Make a motion to authorize resolution approving the facilities agreement with Gunter Volunteer Fire Department.
I'll
So
second.
first with Dave and a second with Alan, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous, we're gonna move to 19. Agenda item number 19 is an ordinance amending the code of ordinances, general provisions, the city council. So this, we did this a couple of months ago, I guess, where we had changed our meetings to twice a month, the first and then the third Thursday. The first Thursday is at 5 o'clock, the second one is 6 o'clock. We just haven't done this by ordinance, so a little bit of housekeeping.
It's because we love it. We have CDC on the first Thursday.
It's getting busy.
I move that we approve this ordinance.
And the first is Cindy.
I like the second. That's how we sit down.
It's actually the same as the one I asked for.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I almost did miss the first one.
Right, second William, and all in favor?
I see.
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Okay, we're gonna move on to number 20, and that is act upon a resolution approving the schedule. I just did that.
I think the statute requires scheduling by resolution, that's why you've got it in here twice.
That's right.
Because
We passed the ordinance and this is for scheduling.
the ordinance puts it in your code of ordinances, the
Yes.
resolution complies with state law.
Absolutely.
I
So,
move that we that we approve the resolution approving the scheduling of 2 monthly city council meetings.
Cindy with the first,
Second.
Alan with the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, we move on to number 21, and this is, gonna actually be tabled, because we've got a little bit more information to bring, but on the online community software, I will say this, we will not be answering questions or communicating on Facebook anymore. 100% we will be going through official channels, and on October 3rd's meeting, we will, issue a media policy, we'll bring that here for discussion, and this will actually go with that, so we will do that then. So we're gonna table this to, October 3rd. Actually, I think it's October 17th. We'll table it to a future agenda, just pulling
Before
it.
we table it, was right.
So, online community software, we're trying to figure out a way that we can communicate. There's so much going on that when we're coming into, for us to talk, we need to come into an open meeting. So it would be nice to be able to have some sort of communication between us and staff that is online, available for everybody to see what is happening. It's not community with us, but it's us having like an online discussion board, which the Open Meetings Act actually allows. So we're trying to facilitate that. There are a lot of questions online. Everything gets twisted. We just, we need to be doing this through official channels. So we're trying to facilitate that
And
with
we
some
can-
software.
And on our own discussion board where people will have access to it, and we can discuss issues ourselves without having to come to a meeting.
Exactly.
Right, but everybody can see what we're.
Everybody can see what we're saying.
Yes, and that way we can get more information out.
And it's properly archived.
Yes.
Absolutely, because that's a problem too with Facebook. We're not archiving a lot of things that we're not doing. And obviously, we want to make sure that we're doing everything compliant with the Open Meetings Act.
And I'll discuss with y'all, because we have been approached by the president of the EDC on doing some kind of online communication type thing as well.
Yeah, and I
So how that
talked to
flows
them
in.
today. We can include them in this. This would be, I was gonna talk to y'all about, we can include them on this and.
We have a joint portion of the meeting is on that, and, yeah. Because it is something that it's difficult to do, to have these conversations.
No, I'm talking about the community board.
No, for sure, and they need to be able to do it as well, yes, because they're subject to the Open Meetings
Yeah,
Act.
they need to follow the same media policy that the council established.
Absolutely.
So would this be the website that we currently have, this would be a landing, that would still be the landing?
We're not prepared to talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, we're still
Well,
working that out.
it's on the agenda, and I know it's tabled, I wanna understand.
Oh, okay, so, yeah, eventually, it will, the idea is to replace the current website. Initially,
Maybe.
initially, it will be just the boards will be linked into the current website.
Any idea on cost?
That's what we're still trying to figure
Still
out.
trying to
because
work
we
that
only
out.
use a portion of
So,
it.
Hannah, the communication tool you're talking about would replace the city website?
It'd be ancillary to it.
can, but it doesn't have to.
We're actually discussing it, so we're just gonna go to discuss it as best we can,
Okay.
but then we'll bring it back on October 3rd. So, Open Meetings Act does allow us to communicate through an online discussion, us with staff. The act says that it has to be on the first page, a link, and it has to be a one link, on our website, homepage, a link, one step and you get there. So that it's easy for everybody to find. That way we can communicate. The problem is finding a bulletin board that is secure enough to be able to add that to our website, and our current website, Civic Plus, does not offer anything like this. Go figure. It's a government type, website builder. They don't offer this. So we found somebody that does, but it's very hard to add that module for the community to the current website. That's what we're trying to figure out, and that's why we weren't really gonna present this tonight, because it has
It's
to make sense
possible.
financially.
Yeah.
With all of the work that they just did on this other website.
Yeah, and I thought we had a contract, or, are we under contract with
I'm putting together all the numbers to show y'all what we've spent on the current website, what the new solution would cost, and all that, and how it
Well,
will
it sounds like
offset.
we're gonna keep paying for our existing website, and we're gonna have to pay
No,
for this.
we've already paid
It's
the
already paid
contract.
upfront.
We paid for the whole term
Another issue.
upfront,
The whole term, and how much time's left on the term?
3 years.
27.
Well, so this wouldn't happen for 3 years.
Unless we throw it in the trash.
I mean, why would we do that?
Yeah, it has to all make sense, so we're still trying to figure out
That's
how it could possibly make sense.
It has a lot more, features that we can take advantage of, and it has, and I'm not ready to talk about it, we're gonna talk about it in October.
Yeah, we're just, the main thing is that we're not doing a meeting. We're not, I guess they need to know we are not answering questions on social media
Yeah,
anymore.
the majority of the noise has come from people out there screaming into the abyss on Facebook,
Right.
which, I'm not on Facebook.
Say, stop talking on Facebook, people will scream.
Yeah, we're done with that, so that effective immediately, we will not be
Yeah, I mean,
answering
we should
questions.
just be directing everybody to our city email addresses, if they have questions, come to a meeting.
Pick up the phone, that's right.
It's not
Call one
gonna
of us.
be via Facebook.
Right. We don't have a way, we're not archiving it, there's a lot of issues with it. So this was kind of the general discussion, and we thought we might have had a solution. It's not ready really yet, because it doesn't make sense financially yet, not
Yeah.
comfortable with it, so we're still working on it. We'll talk about it again another time, so no action tonight. Item 22, so this is, we put out the, RFQ for banking, which we have to do every 5 years, I think it is by statute. We did get 3 back. Deidre has a little bit more information on this, I can't remember the names, but we ran through all of those quotes. As far as, interest that we would earn, everything was pretty standard across the board, all 3 of them, so it just kind of made sense to stay with Simmons, because they're right here in town. And going back and forth with Jamie or Rebecca, or anybody that needs to go back and forth in Detroit. It makes sense, we don't need to pick up a courier, expense, so. So I guess we really just need authorization to approve our choice of keeping Simmons Bank. There really were no benefits to go anywhere else, so it made sense. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, got Dave with the first, second, Cindy with the second, all in favor?
I'm just not gonna vote.
Okay,
Simmons is his client. I'm not gonna vote one way
okay,
or the
so
other.
you're abstaining, so we unanimous for the 3 of you, with William not voting.
It's so difficult.
So many clients, so many conflicts. Okay, agenda item number 23, and this is to discuss, consider, act upon appointing a vacancy on the EDC. To start with, originally, the reason we went to executive session before was because each of you didn't really know anything, you're all brand new, you didn't know anything about each of the boards. So when we filled the boards in the last go-around, I opened it up instead of me sitting down with, 2 of you or me making the appointment. We wanted to all do that as a group, sit down and discuss each individual as a group. Now that everybody knows who's on our boards, we have an open seat on the EDC. We actually have 2, but I have 1 appointment to bring to you. On this one, I have another one coming up, and I'll probably put Wade and William, or Wade and, William and Cindy, 2 of you, but I had Alan and Dave on this one. So I had Alan and Dave meet the appointment. Eric happened to meet him as well. Originally, we set this up where you get a chance too, and I wasn't gonna be able to attend, so I met him one-on-one. Alan happened to come up, and then Eric, I'm like, oh gosh, we just had a meeting. Christopher is the chair of the board. He came in, he knew him, he was comfortable, and then we asked Dave, and you said that you were totally okay with our recommendation. So I am bringing to you an appointment, and that is Paul Volker. And I think, gosh, I didn't get you any information about him.
No idea who he is.
So, you
Bring him
trust us.
Let me look him up real quick.
He might be a client away.
Bring him.
I know, he might be a client.
Oh, do you have
So,
any-
let me
like
just tell you,
advertising
Paul-
for
Oh, you are here,
sponsors?
Paul,
Right
yeah,
now.
go ahead, come on
Come,
up,
come
because
talk to yourself.
they,
Talk.
Paul and his wife owns, Serene Farms
About yourself.
here in town.
Okay.
Oh, Paul, hey, yeah.
Talk your
So,
smack.
I was going through applications and I stumbled across his a few months ago, and then I'd forgotten about it. I came back, I remembered again, I thought, he'd be a great for EDC. He had interviewed, and I think at the time there were probably 7 people that did. So, he knows Christopher, their acquaintances have a similar background, and so I called him up and asked him, he said he was still interested, so we set that appointment up, so. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, they're just right across the street, so we'll have the after party over there. But yeah, I've been in the community about 3 years. Really, excited to see the city of Gunter develop and, have the opportunity to, contribute to that in any way that I can. I have a background in working with a lot of small businesses from a marketing capacity. I used to be in the radio sales business a long time ago. I specifically work in retail. My day job, full-time thing. My wife owns a business across the street, so we wanna help, I wanna help, bring more business and economy to the city of Gunter, and I think I've got a good background to do that, so, glad to join if there's opportunity.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I think there is an opening. There's an opening. What a coincidence.
Just happen to wander in.
We did, so I called them up, and, I said, I think you'd be a great candidate, and we set the appointment, and, Eric and Alan were very happy with the appointment, so.
Let's do it.
Dave was operating on our faith, so.
Yeah, I trust Alan and Eric. William, not so much, but Alan and Eric.
Especially on the appointments.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, thank you, Paul, I'm glad you're here, I didn't see you back there, so I'm glad you were here.
Let's do it.
Okay,
So let's make a motion.
Let's make a
To
motion.
appoint Paul on the EDC board.
okay, so Alan with the first,
Fill that blank. I'll second.
William with the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Welcome to EDC.
Thank you very much. Honor, pleasure, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 24, so this is another 2038 petition. Obviously, we can't deny this because the state allows it, so really this is putting it on our agenda for the record, so there's a record that,
Is there more than one of these?
we're gonna continue to get them. So this is removal from ETJ, and by law, we really can't stop this, so we have neither, approved, but we do have to acknowledge that the petition was submitted, we received it, it was complete.
But we're not part of the lawsuit
No,
anymore. That was something else.
that was something else. So these are just, this is the Senate Bill 2038 that allows someone in our ETJ to be removed from it.
There is still a lawsuit out there with Grand Prairie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
they're
still
trying to
that.
fight it, but,
Are we still a party to that city?
We're supposed to be.
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna put that on the agenda for next meeting, get off that day. That's stupid. That's how I feel about it.
Is that your legalese?
That's my legal opinion, yes.
So the funds have already been transferred,
I didn't-
our
I still
support,
withdraw.
but we won't be doing any more.
Yeah.
So that, I don't know really what we can do on the agenda to
Well,
just,
are we a party to the city?
we donate it to it. I guess I need to find out. I need to find out if we're actually named in it. I don't think that we are, but we donate.
I don't know, I can check on it.
I'll
Okay,
tell you,
let's check.
if the legislature does what they're planning on doing next year, we're not gonna have any.
It's not gonna matter.
ETJs, and it won't matter.
Right.
This whole thing is silly, claiming it is unconstitutional, it's just
Yeah.
nutty.
Well, we'll find out if we're actually listed as a,
Complaint.
as a petitioner, yeah, on the complaint. I don't know that to
So
be
we
true,
need
but
to
we
pass
did
this?
donate to it. So we don't really have to do anything. We're bringing it to you.
Yeah, you do, because it's a resolution,
Okay.
because it requires your map to be updated.
Okay,
Yeah, we have.
so we are approving the resolution.
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second. Dave with the first, Cindy with the second, all in favor? All right, unanimous. We have another one. This is, the second one, Gary and Catherine Harris, the first one. Andrew Pennington. So, on item number 25, another bill 2038, removal from ATJ. Approval, motion to approve the resolution.
I move to approve.
Cindy with the first,
So,
Dave with the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous, so we are on number 26, yes. So this is council business executive session. We put this on here, will be on every agenda until litigation is over. We will continue to have this here to update. We do not have any updates right now, so, unless you guys want to go into executive session,
I never want to go into executive session.
but litigation, we have to,
Well,
bless you.
I wanna make sure everybody in town gets an update.
I'm gonna update right now, but do you have questions for us to go in? Is there something you need to ask Courtney? We kinda know what has been happening, there's nothing new, we should have more information soon. So basically, I do wanna update you because we haven't made a statement on it. Obviously, we still can't talk about it because it is litigation. But we do have a Rule 11 agreement, with the NSF, and that is just basically, it's filed in the court record. A lot of people know about it. You can certainly contact the court clerk, you can go online and create an account and actually get anything that you want out of that record, the full petition, Rule 11, all the documents there, this is public record. The city and staff, the city staff and council can, you know, answer any questions or communicate any information or discuss it, but we do have the agreement allows us to just pause litigation so that both sides can try to figure out what the conflict is and resolve the conflict. So we're all back at the table discussing and trying to settle differences. So that's where we are. That's pretty much all I can tell you. It's always better if you can work something out as opposed to doing it in the courts. We're trying to do that, trying to be responsible and do that. So we'll see.
Did they ever get a discovery control plan put in place?
No, there is no discovery control plan in place yet.
It all paused.
It's all paused.
It's all paused. Which is good, because we really didn't even know where we were, so we were finding out. So if you guys don't need executive session or have anything to update you, Courtney doesn't have anything, we'll just move forward. Okay, no executive session. So we're not reconvening executive session. Okay, so, number 28, determining agenda items for a future agenda. I have several that we mentioned the last, couple of times. I have stuff coming up on the 3rd, and I have things on the 17th. Is there anything that you guys can think of that I need to add to that?
No, I always think of things during the week and then I forget, don't write it down. Don't bring it.
And you
Where's
can
your list? That you have to scroll.
send me
I
any.
do, I have to take a list. I have to get my computer out, I don't wanna wait on that, I'll email it to you.
Email it to me.
I don't know how you email those things to all of them.
Yeah. So, on the 3rd, we do have the media policy, so we'll talk a little bit more about that. That's coming. I had some citizens ask me about a sex offender ordinance, what we can do to limit areas that, what can we do that is not what the state already requires us? So I'll get with Courtney on that.
More than what the state already requires.
Well,
State's pretty
yes,
restrictive.
it's pretty restrictive, so we just need to talk about what we can do at a local level to either enhance that or further enforce it, or just, a lot of people are upset about that right now.
It's only 50 feet from the school.
It's,
So we have to
I don't
create
know
a zip
to what
code.
Okay, we
extent.
can't talk about it.
Talk about it,
Okay,
but
sorry.
we're gonna bring it on a future agenda so that we're gonna talk about it, because I do have people asking me. We're gonna put that on the agenda. The biggest thing on October 3rd is we will have a BNSF timeline that Courtney and I are working on, so that it will explain, how we got here and where we are and all that good stuff. The PID petition for Gunter 66 will be on the 3rd, because on the 17th, we will bring back the PID creation. And Wade asked for cell tower, to talk about cell towers, so I'm putting that on the 3rd because he wasn't gonna be here tonight, and we need a little bit more work on getting an ordinance ready anyway, so if there's anything else you guys can think of.
I have a question. I don't even know if it's something we put on the agenda.
Okay,
Do we have any kind of stroke to put a no Jake break sign through the city part of
Sign
289?
ordinance.
Do we have any say in that whatsoever?
It's with TechStop.
And it talks about rugby. so
Yeah,
that's a
but
no
we can
I
pass
think
it.
engine
you,
brake ordinance.
within the
Okay.
let me double check, but I think you can.
alright.
If we
Tyler
can,
does it 'cause they pulled over doing
I
it.
would like that to be on.
It's on
Okay.
377.
So, if it's a text out of road, we can't control the speed of a text out of road.
It's not a speed, Jake break is when you hear that guy.
It's like their brakes.
Yes.
under a noise ordinance.
Okay, so it's an item for a future agenda, and we'll get Courtney to research that, we'll bring that back to you for discussion, let you know what's needed. Anything else?
I kinda, in a future meeting, I'm gonna talk about the night sky. Since we don't
Okay, the
have-
dark sky ordinance.
Dark sky
Yeah,
ordinance.
did I get my dark sky ordinance sent to you timely?
You did.
I forgot about that.
It was illuminating.
Was it?
That's good, that's good.
Super hard to
Very
enforce during
good.
daylight hours, though.
Okay, so that was our last agenda item. We are going to adjourn at 8:56. It's faster than I thought. I thought it was gonna be Friday.
I thought y'all were
Y'all
having two
are
meetings.
excited about taxes.
I thought you were having two meetings this
No,
short.
this revenue rate, that's amazing. How are you?
Bye, girl.
No problem, I told you.
It's daytime now.
Fun stuff.
He's moving
What's
on
up?
up.
Fun stuff. Project that never ends.
Yes, I'm working on that now. I haven't.
You got any changes you want, just collect them and then got 5 minutes to trail them all.
Because if you start going down that rabbit hole here, that's my property, it's this guy who's got